Some of these lives are gangster too. Do you remember these from back in the day?
Yeah, I was going to say, I swear I've seen that exact skull and crossbones one, like being sold in Thailand or
True.
Indonesia or something like that.
I actually like this plain black one the best because it's just a...
Oh, yeah. What is the other one, a jet lighter?
Yeah. And then there's these spastic ones.
Oh, shit.
Touch it, bro.
The taser. That's going to hurt?
It'll fucking get you.
Oh, nah, not if it's going to hurt.
Yeah, fuck yeah, it hurts.
Yeah, it looks like a taser, man.
Yeah, well, imagine you're on JRE doing that. There's this if you want it. Stressful.
Yeah, go on, give us a...
No, there's one there.
Oh, this is two.
Yeah.
I was looking at this when I came in and I was wondering if it was little...
I got them fresh this week because I had heaps of comments. Wow. I guess you could say advice on the podcast. One of them was I swing too much on my chair. So I got this fucking step stool under there. And one of them was I think I fiddle too much. So I got fucking stress balls as well.
Bro, that's so funny you say that because when I was watching some of the clips of your other podcasts, I was thinking that like the angle shows like your hands and feet and stuff, and I was like, fuck man, I know I'm a fidgety person.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm probably gonna like have a realization as to just how fidgety I am when I watch this back, eh?
But the thing is, like, who really cares? I think majority of people listen anyway. But fuck, it is what it is.
I never watched the visuals from
yeah.
Podcast.
And there's always going to be people that criticize. So
yeah, for sure. No, but just more as like an interesting observation of like, I don't know why it is too. Like, why do you fidget that way? Why do your hands and your feet just go off like that?
yeah, well, I reckon I have mild ADHD. Potentially you have the same. Like too much red 40, bro. All that bad stuff. Too much Cereals and your oat milk coffees.
How did you even find out about that red 40 situation?
I just started following this dude in America who's hard out on the health buzz. I think it's Santa Cruz Paleo is his company. And he's a funny guy, but he always goes on about red 40. And like he'll go into like stores and he'll pay people like $100 to not drink soda for a month. And then when people rage out at him, he'll be like, fuck, you've had too much red 40s today. It's funny, but
hectic, man.
Then I started just researching myself, and it's actually real interesting. It's like so bad for you, man. Banned in so many countries now, but then America, of course, like just put it in everything.
And here, right? That's what you were saying. And red Powerade, was it?
Yeah, bro. Gatorades, Powerades, all sorts, and all that stuff. Monty is in America at the moment, and he was sending me the ingredients list on some of their M&Ms. And it's like every single artificial flavor, color, every single seed oil you can think of. It's like, fuck, man.
So what was it? It's just that they don't get metabolized or something and they build up in the
Well,
liver or something like that, was it?
It's getting pretty technical now.
Roughly.
Well, I know that red 40 in particular causes ADHD, ADD, and can cause cancer. I think the reason the European countries banned it was the cancer side of things. So, well, all of it, bro. It's so there's so many unnatural things in our food that it's like, of course, the human body can't process that. Well, you know, we've like evolved over hundreds of thousands of years to eat like meat and an animal-based diet, and now we're fucking eating like industrial seed oils and like artificial coloring, and you know, like even all the preservatives and shit that they spray on all the crops is just very unnatural.
Yeah, it's slightly terrifying, eh? Which is cool that you know, you go to the extra effort of like, you know, procuring raw milk, for example, and stuff like that. I mean, I like to think that I eat fairly well, and I'll go the extra mile to like, you know, buy more expensive goods that I know are like not processed to the level of some other things. But I'm yet to sort out my milk situation like we've talked about before.
Oh, it's tough. It's tough in Australia, I think. I don't
you were
know.
saying, right, Dill looked into it and managed to find some cold pressed. Was it cold pressed? Is that
yeah,
right?
well, there is some cold pressed or cold pasteurized, and they still call it raw milk, which is quite ironic because it's not actually raw.
Meaning cold pressed oat milk, wasn't it? Didn't you say?
Not sure about oat milk. I mean, I stay away from that because most of them have seed oils in them. But I think apart from that, they would be all good. But Danny, I think, found some in Brisbane, which you could probably find. That was Cleopatra's bath milk, they call it.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was the one, yeah.
So you could fucking bath it. That's the only way they can get around selling it, is that you can bath in it.
And why that's just not fit for consumption or something is the reason that it can't be sold to be consumed, right?
Yeah, well, there was like back in the day, 100 years ago, there was a lot of illnesses because of raw milk, but it was more the hygiene standards around it rather than the actual raw milk itself. So say like you had an old stainless steel bucket that you didn't clean out and it's got some bacteria living in it, and then you milk the cow, leave it in the bucket for half a day, and then it's obviously bacteria can spread very fast, and then you get sick. So I was talking to a dude this week, because I was down in Dunedin, getting some raw milk, had a mean chat to this farmer, just like a classic farmer, like stubbies, singlet, real scruffy beard, and I was asking him what the standards are around it, and he's like, mate, we probably spend $22,000 a year on all the stuff we have to keep up the standards of raw milk, which is crazy to think. And I was like, yeah, that's wild, because I always wonder why raw milk's quite expensive, $3.50 a litre, and it's like they have to pay for all those things, but at least you're getting it like clean. It's going to be hygienic. They have to go through all the safety measures and regular testing and whatnot.
Yeah, and I wonder how bad those infections of the milk or whatever, or contaminations in the milk are for you as well.
Nah, I don't know, but I've heard they're pretty bad.
You get
Bro,
real sick. Yeah.
I've done some like dodgy things with the raw milk, because when you pick them up locally, you're meant to bring like a cooler box, like frozen, like an ice pack, frozen peas or whatever, to just transport it from your car to the fridge. And I've like bought them down south, left them in my car for like 2 hours, like warm, and then just like drank the last 300 mils, almost like wanting to test the limits of everyone says it's so dangerous, but I'm yet to get sick. I don't know. Maybe the day I'll get sick, might put me off raw milk for a while, but
maybe.
Hopefully that day is a long way away. I'll give you a glass at the end of this.
Yeah, man.
I would have given you one earlier, but I don't want to give you the shits or something in the pod.
I was thinking that because I don't have dairy super often anyway, apart from protein powder, which I guess is like a pretty concentrated hit of everything you'd get drinking milk on a regular basis anyway, right?
Is it whey protein that you have?
Whey protein. Yeah,
well, it's meant to have lactase in raw milk, which is the enzyme your body needs to digest lactose. So people that are lactose intolerant often can drink raw milk. So you would hopefully be all right having a glass, even if you're not used to drinking dairy. But you never know, I guess, until you do it.
That's it. Yeah, it probably wouldn't be the ideal time to be testing that theory.
Nah, exactly.
Sitting in here.
But I mean, you've got a decent amount of milk powder in there.
Yeah, that's true.
And a bit of milk in there too.
That's true.
Looking forward to our hunt tonight.
Yes, mate. I'm looking forward to it, eh?
Same.
I've been super excited to get back to that part of, I guess, the lower North Island region, eh? Seeing the videos of your recent trips there and reminiscing on old photos from the last time I was in this part of the world. Like, so beautiful, man. It's such a raw, rugged coastline, eh? And those mountain ranges as well, equally as beautiful. So yeah, super excited to get in there. It's going to be icy though, man. Like, I'm not built for this kind of weather anymore. Eh?
Even right now, I'm like a little colder. I'm like, do I chuck my jersey back on?
Me too.
You've always loved the South Coast. Did we go for a mish out there and light a fire one time? We did it. Oh, that's right.
That was down here at Wainui.
Yeah, that was crack up because we doused in petrol. Do you remember?
Oh, I had to with that screaming southerly.
I've got that video somewhere still, we had like the petrol canister right next to the fire. So dumb, and like
that point of view.
Yeah, and the rugby ball, bro. You just fucking run instantly, and I'm like grabbing all this shit. I like instantly went for the petrol. I'm like, holy shit! If this catches fire.
No, it was definitely your heroic actions that saved the day there.
My instincts just kicked in. I was like, fuck, grab this.
Yeah, I entered panic mode in that situation. Eh?
But it's almost a bad thing, because imagine if I went to grab that petrol and it blew up like in front of me. I would have been fucked.
Well, I think that was the reason I stepped back initially, because I saw the tip of it catch fire.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, this whole thing is going to explode. And like, I don't know, I feel like getting petrol that's already on fire on you, it's like going to be difficult to get off, especially where we were there, like rocky. You wouldn't be able to drop and roll.
I would have had to like just been on fire for 10 seconds while running to the ocean.
Into the water, yeah.
Fuck, that would have been brutal.
But even then, it was like, a flat tidal pool before even really getting to a part where you could jump in and submerge yourself.
I've listened to a few audiobooks where there's some wild stories of that's happened to some dudes, and it's like pretty scary, eh? Some dude was in Thailand. I think he was like riding bikes through those fire rings on a beach, and he caught fire, and then he was in like a Thai hospital for 6 to 12 months. Brutal.
And that is not a place that you want to end up when you're traveling.
Well, he said, bro, he was like wrapped up in a Thai hospital, and there was like wild cats like in his room walking around. And it's like, that's not very hygienic, is it?
It's a different level of hygiene standards over there, I guess. And the thing that terrifies me about those sorts of places is tropical infections, and the risk of that happening is so much higher. Well, obviously it's so much higher than here. That hot, humid environment, it's hard to stay clean over there. You're constantly sweating. Everything is dirty as well. I mean, you're driving around on a scooter, anything blowing in the air or passing by is like, touching your skin, especially if you're training, right? Like, the mats there, everyone's sweating. Well,
didn't you have that? You had some gnarly infection while you were over there?
Yeah, like a scary experience, eh? So...
just pull that mic a little closer to your mouth.
A bit closer?
Yeah.
Is this better?
That's good. Sorry, brother.
No, that's all good, man. So yeah, it was when I was in Koh Tao, training for a fight, out on that island. So off the coast of South Thailand, I think it is. It literally started out as like a small pimple, which I thought was just like a little sweat pimple or blister or something like that. I popped it, sort of kept a rough eye on it, plaster, a little bit of disinfectant, that sort of thing. It wasn't gnarly at all. And then after the fight, I was sort of sitting around with a sweaty bandage on top of it, which obviously isn't ideal aftercare. And from there, in the space of like 24 hours, my whole shin had blown up like a balloon. The pimple on the outside was like this big pussy mess. Like my whole ankle was sort of swollen. In retrospect, probably partly from the fight as well. But yeah, I had like a full meltdown and freak out about it. Late at night, 2 days after the fight, like it was super painful. Like the stuff oozing out of it wasn't looking good. So I went straight down to a clinic. This is like midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. They ended up cutting it open, draining it, stitching it up, packing it. Oh, not stitching it up yet, but packing it full of like iodine soaked fabric. And then, for a week after that, going in every day, having it clean, getting an IV of antibiotics, and fuck, it was just scary how quickly like things swelled up and that cut got out of control. And all the time, my friends that I was kicking around with were showing me videos. I think maybe did I send it through to you? Someone in Phuket that had a similar infection. And it just got out of control, and he ended up needing skin grafts and basically having his whole leg peeled back like a fucking Christmas ham. It's to the point where it's like so grisly that it's hard to watch. So my friends were showing me this, while this is all going on, being like, "Oh, this is why you need to take care of it, mate." I'm like, "Oh."
But that's classic, like when you're sick and you Google something, you're like, "Fuck, I'm dying." Like Google's telling me I'm dying. These symptoms are not good. But oftentimes it's just worse. You're going straight to worst case scenario, right?
For sure, freaking out about it. But then coupled with the like less than ideal hygiene standards of some of the clinics up there, like this one was pretty good that I was going to, man. But like still less than ideal, and like driving around on a scooter, getting like road water splashed on your leg or something like that. Like, yeah, scary stuff, mate.
And like I think, like you say, after a fight, your body would probably, I'd say your immune system, everything would be weaker, right?
For sure.
Yeah, your body's run down and it's in recovery mode. And then,
for sure.
Do you know Luke Rockhold, UFC fighter?
Yeah.
That happened to him, mate. He got like a mad staph infection on his shin, and it got to the point where like they were almost saying we might have to amputate your leg.
Fuck, it got that bad.
Yeah, and that's why like at the end of his career, he always had to fight with that shin sleeve on, because of that staph infection. I think he must have had a skin graft, and then every time he's shin on shin, it just splits open again. So that's gnarly.
It's scary that staph is such a common thing, like even in Australia and New Zealand, but in somewhere like Thailand, a tropical environment, it can just kick off and get so much worse.
That's where it feels good to live in a country like New Zealand. You know, you
Yeah,
feel
for
lucky.
sure.
The medical system, although you might be sitting in A&E for 8 hours, at least, you know, you can sort of trust the system when you actually get seen.
Yeah, and I mean, it ends up being relatively low cost for a high advanced amount of care.
Yeah, I mean, the cost is you just have to fuck around and wait in A&E for 10 hours. But
yeah, that's it. I mean, better to spend time than like lose a limb.
Well, exactly. I guess it's a very privileged thing to say, because some people can't get any medical attention.
Yeah.
And we're moaning because we have to sit in A&E for 10 hours.
I've had some punishing waits in A&E over the years, though.
I mean, surely there is a better way, right? Like, fuck, especially in this modern era, do like a text system, like where you can go sit in your car and then text and be like, you're going to be seen in 5 minutes, or if you're not here within the next 5 minutes, you're going to get booted to the back of the line.
I feel like there was something similar to that during COVID times, at least in Wellington Hospital, when I had to make a wee stop over there at one point.
True.
Yeah.
Anything serious?
That was when my face got rearranged temporarily after a party in Wellington. I think you remember that. Was when I broke my nose.
Fuck.
Had my tooth broken as well, which is probably the most unpleasant part about it, having like an exposed nerve in my front tooth. So like whenever I drink cold water or anything, it would just be set off. And
Still to this day, or is it?
No, it's
better
pretty
now?
bad now. It's like a putty that they put in, mold it to the shape, and then harden it with a UV light. It's pretty cool. Color match it and everything.
True.
Hard out. Yeah, but that was an unfortunate encounter.
What happened? I like half remember, because you were with one of your exes, and you were like scrapping some dudes. It was you versus the whole party.
Yeah, it was a party that I guess she got us invited to through a friend of a friend situation. I didn't really want to be there, to be honest, but we walked into someone's room. They didn't want us in there. Cheeky words exchanged. Before I know it, there's a few dudes having a crack, and then literally punches were thrown before I even knew what had happened, and pulled outside onto the deck, fell off a few steps, sort of came to. My shirt was ripped, my nose broken, and my tooth, I didn't realize until much later, but my tooth was snapped in half as well. And then it was just up and out of there, straight to the hospital. I was like pretty worried about my nose.
Was that the one that you fell from like a retaining wall or some shit?
Yeah, so fell from a deck onto stairs that went down the side, but it was like a meter fall, man. So it could have been bad. Like it could have been really bad, And I don't really remember much of the like fall and stuff, just from like I guess
probably got a concussion.
Flashes. Definitely, that was the first time I'd actually ever had a proper concussion experience in my whole life. Like I wasn't into like I guess Muay Thai at that point, so I hadn't really been cracked in the head.
Just a street fighter at that point.
Yeah.
I love how you say and then I don't know what happened. They started throwing punches. You would have been like, "Fuck, what are you gonna do, cunt?" And then you would have started throwing hands.
Yeah. There would have been some gasoline. Well, that's what I was trying to say in like a more I guess internet friendly, less incriminating.
Fair enough.
But cheers for shedding light on that, Brad. But yeah, no, like that's one of the frustrating things when I look back to it, is like I didn't even throw a punch in that encounter.
Right.
I genuinely thought I was so much bigger than these few dudes. I was like, there's no way. But yeah, I got cracked, and I guess that's one of the reasons that I love Muay Thai, or that I got back into that sort of thing, was, I don't know, just having the ability to be able to like, I guess, be able to defend yourself. And
yeah, imagine how confident you'd be now. I mean, you've literally got in the ring and knocked people out. It's like these little dweebs at a party would have no chance.
It's hard to it was hard to release the like resentment I had towards them in that whole situation, man, like especially retrospectively. But yeah, like I said, that was the first time I ever had like a proper concussion, and that lasted months, man, honestly. So after that, I had 2 weeks off work, because whenever I'd look at a computer screen, I'd just get like intense migraines.
Damn.
And then yeah, for like a couple of months following that, it was just like my mood was very undulating, to say the least. Like pretty, I don't know, pretty temperamental, I guess, like pretty sad. Yeah, it was a bad time, man. But it just sort of shows, I guess, like for me, that was a realization of how serious head injuries can be. You know what I mean? Like until you get a decent knock, I guess. Like, it's just word of mouth and that. But having experienced that for the first time, I was like, fuck, man, like, maybe I will wear a helmet now when I jump on a scooter and go for a ride through some crazy place, you know. Because I swear it would only really take one decent knock for your life to be ruined, eh?
Well, that's the scary thing, even about Muay Thai and stuff, is it's like, you know, I personally love it. You obviously love it, but sometimes I feel like you go home from training and you're like, oh, fuck, I got hit in the head maybe a bit too much tonight. Like, this is not good for the brain.
For sure.
Especially, you know, in 30 years' time, we want to still be living our lives and potentially have kids and grandkids or whatever. And you don't really want to just be like a potato head then, eh? Because of your youth.
Yeah, no way. It's a fine balancing act, eh? Like, enjoying your prime and your youth now versus like maintaining some sort of like longevity focused goal, eh?
What's your long-term goal for Muay Thai? Do you see yourself?
Sorry, Muay Thai.
Yeah, do you see yourself doing it in 15 years?
I'm not sure. Like, there's definitely some form of like high intensity exercise in my future. And it's like we've talked about before, how the focus has changed from when we were in our teens or whatever, being as big and strong and like alpha as possible, to now more functionality based. It's like flexibility, like functional movement and strength. So definitely something that incorporates those sorts of things, but I tend to stick to a sport for like 5 or 6 years, go hard, and then switch it up. But for now, yeah, like, I'm super passionate about it. I love it. Like, I want to see, I guess, how far I can push myself into this, you know, unfamiliar and uncomfortable sort of pursuit, eh? Like, it's such a confronting and gnarly experience for me, jumping into the ring and getting it on with some brother, eh?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm keen to push it a bit more and figure it out and, like, return to Thailand and get amongst that scene again, absolutely. But like you said as well, like, probably not in 15 years, because I'll give my brain cells a rest by that point, I think. How about you?
Maybe jiu-jitsu at that stage.
Yeah, well, that's the thing I was going to say, actually. Like,
Get into something else.
a less head trauma based combat sport could be an option. And like, a lot of people that I respect and, you know, have a lot of love for are right into jiu-jitsu. So, you know, it can't be all bad, I guess.
But it's any of those combat sports are so brutal on the body, eh? Because jiu-jitsu is like brutal on the body. Like, I got lots of niggly injuries, and I know everyone at jits has some form of niggly injury, eh? Yeah. But I guess it's just that balancing act. It's like, is it worth what you're doing it for?
Yeah, well, I swear I see Monty posting like swollen ankles and busted up knees and shit. I'm like, see, for me, I would rather get smacked in the face and deal with like a cut on my forehead or from an elbow or something like that, rather than have some dude like fucking, you know, munch my ankle joint in some kind of crazy hold or something. Like, that terrifies me, man.
And I mean, I definitely know the type of person you are, and you have egos like we all do. But I would say it's like a good thing. You're like a fighter, so you're not going to tap easily, which increases your chance of injury in a jiu-jitsu scene.
It's crazy that someone who is like even slightly trained in jiu-jitsu would just like make a pretzel of me on the ground.
On the mat. Well, that's the thing. They got to get there first, right?
It's like we always say that you'd have to get past a quick knee and a takedown or something like that.
Oh, bro, easy. I'll shoot a quick double on you.
Yeah, well, it's a good thing that we recorded this before having the chance to spar each other, so we can't fill your listeners in on how that went down.
Yeah. Don't want to tell everyone that I embarrassed you, eh?
Yeah. I brought my 16 ounces over. So we can. But I don't have, like I said, shinies.
Yeah, all good. Well, if you're keen, come down to training on Tuesday.
Definitely can.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We'll do, like, first hour is boxing, and then at the end of that, we do boxing sparring. And then second hour is Muay Thai sparring, and then sometimes we do MMA rounds. But sometimes we'll just do heaps of Muay Thai rounds.
And when you spar MMA, do you use like the fingerless gloves as well? So you can grab
we used to, but lately I've been saying, like, me and Kyle have been wearing the 16 ounce and just sort of MMA sparring more into the wrestling zone. Once it's on the floor in a dominant position, then we just stop. Because otherwise it's too unrealistic, because you can't really hit each other hard when you're wearing like 4 8-ounce gloves.
Yeah, so the fingerless ones are almost all 4
You can get 8-ounce like training MMA gloves, so they're real padded over the knuckles, but it's still like I think especially me and you because we're a bit bigger, like we would crack each other with those and it would not be good. So it's way more realistic doing the MMA rounds with 16-ounce because it feels like a proper round mixed up with takedowns.
Yeah. And obviously you're just limited because you don't have like your fingers to hook in.
Well, exactly. It's more like when it's on the ground, it is a bit harder. I mean, it's harder for me if I'm on top to get a choke in because I got big gloves on, but it's just ground and pound type style. And then the dude on bottom try to get up sort of thing.
Hectic, man. Do you spar with headgear?
Nah, for a while I bought headgear and I actually got hit in the head way more wearing headgear than not wearing headgear. Boxing, it was alright, but it just messes up your like peripheral vision, eh? And
That's
you just,
what I don't like about it. Yeah.
Just those little like slips and shit, and especially Muay Thai, like I can't see the leg kicks enough. And then I was getting kicked in the legs way more, and I was like, "Fuck this! I'm not wearing it." You obviously don't either. Then
No, I don't. But I like the idea of it, and I even looked into like I don't know what sport it is, but there's some like I think it's European form of kickboxing where they actually use helmets. I don't know what it is. No, it must be like something similar to karate. I'm not sure exactly, but they use clear face masks.
Oh, buzzy!
Like a helmet with a plastic.
So you're not even getting hit in the nose. It's like protecting your nose.
And that's why I wanted to get it because I got into this bad streak of breaking my nose during sparring. I think I told you about this too. And it's all traced back to that encounter in Wellington. That was the first time I had like my nose seriously broken, and ever since then it seems to require less force to get the boy looking a bit crooked, eh?
Oh, I'm just looking at your nose right now. It looks all good.
Like
a bit of a lump there, right?
There's a few lumps and bumps and a little bit of bend going on there, but could be worse, man. Like you see some like hard out older fighters, man, and they're just like cauliflower ears, like gnarly as bends in their nose, and I don't give a fuck, man. They're just warriors, bro. It's awesome.
Well, it's funny because the cauliflower ears is like the jiu-jitsu sign of like, you've been training a long time, but I guess Muay Thai, maybe it's the crooked nose.
That's definitely the crooked nose, man, for sure. Yeah, brutal.
Did you see that that Mike Perry fight that time when his nose like fully got shifted to the side?
Yeah, man.
That's so brutal.
That's horrific, eh? There was another one, I think it was an Iranian fighter in one FC, and what was it? I think it was an uppercut. Like you see him slow-mo go, like try to cover up for this uppercut, and he gets fucking squared in the nose, man, comes up, and it's just like flattened, bro. Flattened and turned off to one side. It's terrible. But when I see those now, I know what that means. I'm like, I know how that feels. Well, maybe not even that bad, but
it's like instant teary eyes and stuff. It's like
horrible, man. Horrible.
Yeah, it's like I guess warriors. For anyone that gets in the ring, my coach always says it's like you are the 1%. If you can get in the ring and have a fight, you're like the 1% of the population that has the balls to go and do it.
For sure.
Because the majority of people don't have the courage to do that, right?
No way. It's for me probably the most, if not, but yeah, probably one of the most confronting experiences of my life is hopping the ropes, man, and standing in that little square area across from some man who wants to like inflict pain upon you, like to ruin your day. It's terrifying, man. It's terrifying. And yeah, massive props to anyone who does that. And like, as well as actually getting in there and doing that in front of a crowd of people, like all the background of like training and, consistently. And
well, I think would be the main factor for most people. I know it was for me, is not so much the fight. Because I mean, you've gotten plenty of bar fights and stuff, right? You don't really care. You don't get those same nerves. But when you're going in and like, your friends and family are watching, there's all these people in the crowd. I think it's more just not performing in front of a mass audience is what's scary.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you've got all this time building up to it to get in your own head and brew on it and build it into this like big scary thing, Whereas in those bar fight situations, it doesn't.
Just boom.
It just happens, right? There's no time for nervousness or getting in your own head. But I guess that's why it's so much more challenging when you're voluntarily going into this thing. Man, brutal way. Like, yeah. Are you planning to have more kickboxing encounters?
That's funny. Like so many people ask me that at training. I don't know. I mean, I said ages ago that I wanted to have an MMA fight, and I think I still do want to have an MMA fight before I retire from combat sports.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Nothing in the works right now. Obviously, about to have a kid, so that's sort of just main priority.
For sure.
But I've been training. Like, it's always been my theory is stay ready, and then when you decide you want to do something, you're then prepared to do it. So like I had a fight 2 years ago, and that time has gone fast, but I've still been training like every week since then. So if I decided tomorrow I want to have a fight, I just need a standard camp and I'll be good to go.
Yeah, awesome.
Rather than, not training for 2 years and then be like, I want to have a fight, and then I need a year of training to become ready. It's not my style.
Yeah, man. Well, that last fight of yours, was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Okay. That was awesome, man. I want to see more. That was so good, like, and especially you had COVID not too long before that too, right?
Yeah, our whole gym got COVID like in the middle of that fight camp, and I'd like to think that's why my cardio was so bad for that fight, but it also could have just been adrenaline dump. Man,
it's probably both. COVID definitely fries your whole cardio situation, but the adrenaline dump is a real thing, right? That was your first kickboxing, eh?
Yeah, it was my first Muay Thai fight.
What was it, Muay Thai rules?
Yeah, it was Muay Thai. Oh, yeah, it was Muay Thai, but novice.
Elbows or?
No elbows.
Knees?
Yeah, knees to the body, not to the head. Yeah. Well, I landed a few good knees too, which I was happy with.
And they fucking hurt too, man.
Yeah, well, I didn't get any landed on me, so I didn't get to experience it, but yeah, I had to wear the shinies as well. But it's funny because those shinies they're so thin, bro. It's more just like a mental thing, like, oh, you've got shinies on, but you can't fucking feel those shinies at all.
Not at all.
Nah.
Yeah, it still hurts you and it hurts them.
100%.
For sure, they're so thin. The competition shinies.
Yeah, it's not like the ones you train with. Yeah, those are mean. But yeah, 2 years.
Wow. Yeah. Well, it'd be awesome if you did tee up a MMA fight at some point. I don't know. It's just interesting to be put in those situations where you finally get to like really have that test and just like, obviously sparring, you can sort of see where you're at, but it's not like you going 100% trying to take someone's head off, right? Yeah,
well, there's like that saying, which is gonna leave my mind, but it's like you're the big shark in a small pond, where it's like you might think you're the man in your own gym, but then you have to really test yourself to know. And it happens a lot in jiu-jitsu, bro. Like, people are the best in their gym, but they don't want to compete because they don't want to get proven that they're not the top dog.
That's it.
And yeah, I guess like signing up to any fight or jiu-jitsu comp or anything, it's like you're testing yourself to see like, am I really what I think I am? You also learn so much too. I'm sure you've learned heaps from your fights.
Heaps, man. For sure. About yourself as a fighter, but just as a person too, I guess. Like,
yeah. How do you deal with the nerves leading up to a fight? Do you get lots of anxiety and stuff?
Heaps, man.
Yeah.
Heaps. Like, I don't know. Say like 6, 4, 2, even 1 week out. Like, I'm fairly chill about the whole ordeal. And this latest one, obviously the focus, like I kept you feeling in the loop with where my head was at, was mostly around making weight, because I guess this is the first fight where I've really had to drop a fair amount of weight. Like Thailand, they don't weigh you, bro. They don't care. They just want to see like a big foreigner scrap a big Thai, and they just want to they just want a sick show.
Well, wasn't that you had like an 80 kg bout and you were both like not 80 kgs?
Like, I know for a fact I was at least 85 for that fight, man. And this guy, he was at least 85. But
you both looked you both looked about 90 fighting that night.
It was crazy, man. And there was a fight that was heavier than us too. They were meant to be 90 kilos, man. These guys were not 90.
True.
Like, one dude was like a tall, fat Thai guy, and the other guy was like tall and pretty built foreigner. I'm not sure where he's from, maybe the UK. But yeah, everyone was above weight, man. Like, there's probably not even a set of scales where the fight was, bro.
That's so interesting.
But yeah, then this one in Oz, we were fighting at 82, and I did the first week of my fight camp, 6-week fight camp. I was still on the boat in Indonesia, and I was 92 kilos when I got back to Oz. So yeah, I dropped 10 kilos in the space of like 4.5 weeks or something.
It's pretty gnarly weight cut.
I've never had to do that before, and it was so fucking unpleasant, man. Like, I don't know, at surface level I thought like, oh, it's just a diet, man. Like, I've trained at a high level for different sports. Like, I'm a tough dude. It should be like a walk in the park. But it was humbling how much of a struggle it was to like like keep myself on such a strict, restrictive diet, constantly be in a state of hunger for 4 odd weeks, man. It was brutal. Like that's why I've taken a couple of weeks since the fight, just to like gorge myself in food and like not train and not stress.
Well, it's the classic cycle of a fighter. Is like you cut weight and then you pig out and then you repeat and then eventually your body just can't do it anymore. So you got to be a bit careful, I guess, doing that.
For sure. Like it can't be good for you to purge so much weight so quickly.
And one thing, did you find that focusing on the weight cut, like you said, did it help you relieve nerves from the actual fight?
Yeah, absolutely. Like that was, I guess, that was the sole like focus for me. Obviously, like getting the training in and making sure everything else was sharp and ready. But I was mostly thinking and stressing about making the weight, for sure. Which in a weird way was like a good thing, right? Like it kept me more focused on that than getting in my own head. And I guess that's my problem, is like I get so in my own head and freaked out that I'm like stiff and not doing the things. I'm not flowy like I should be. So yeah, it was good like that. But then after the weigh-in, then it was a little bit of anxiety and nervousness.
That 24 hours leading up.
24 hours, man. It was brutal. The refuel was good though. After that weigh-in.
Yeah, I bet.
It was glorious.
What did you eat as your refuel?
To begin with, it was all liquids. So like electrolyte mixes, whey protein, slowly working more calories in. Like there were like multiple drinks that I had. Sugars, that aloe vera stuff. My coach apparently.
Oh, true.
His savior for his brutal weight cuts.
Well, I guess there's a lot of sugar in there, so it's probably what you need, right?
Yeah, and they just go down easy too.
Just pour it for a second. I'm just gonna bend this thing up. Oh yeah, it's just a little away from your mouth,
Yeah, sorry, man. I'm losing track of where it is.
Yeah, I reckon you move your seat slightly that way.
Yeah.
It'll be easier.
Like this way, man.
Yeah. I could probably straighten this back up again, because then you can have it right by your mouth.
Is that what is that thing down there? Is it a fire alarm?
I think it's a mesh networking for the Wi-Fi.
Very good.
Fist from your mouth, please, sir.
Sorry, mate. I'm starting to have some minor cat allergies.
True.
Kick out.
Blocking up.
So,
no good. I can give you a Haven pill if you need it.
I might grab one at some point if that's alright, mate.
Yeah, okay. We can do it whenever. You tell me when.
Sweet as, brother.
Sorry, I lost track of where we were. We're talking about your fighting. Well, one thing I was going to say, so your fight that you had in Thailand, you said you get nerves and stuff and you like tense up, but that fight, bro, you were so on. You were like so smooth, it didn't seem like your nerves at all.
Thank you, mate. That's a lovely compliment. Oh, yeah. Whoops.
You can extend it.
What's that?
You can extend it. You can pull it like
Yeah. I just don't want to break it.
Nah, it's all good.
Thank you, mate. That's a lovely compliment. And yeah, I definitely felt a lot looser and more fluid than I did in the exhibition I had maybe a few months before, which I think I would have shared videos with you.
Yeah, you did.
Which is the guy who I rematched in the latest fight. But I think there were a few other layers to that situation where I was a bit more chilled out and like loose. I went over there essentially by myself. Like I didn't have, I guess, this whole network of people around me. So there wasn't that added layer of pressure, I think.
Right.
So I was in this foreign land where no one knew me.
Like some random guy,
I was just a random dude, man, having a fight, and like some, I had friends there, but it just felt like there was a lot less pressure and expectation from the people around me as well. So less of a mental burden, I guess, and when fighting. So yeah, like definitely.
Because you were throwing him around all over the place, doing that nice sweep of yours.
Sweep, yeah. Well, he was a big dude, and I guess like I don't know, probably less athletic than me. So like he fell hard when he did fall. Man, he was a big dude.
Well, you were like sweeping his leg right, and then I guess he just didn't have good balance, and he was just floating all over the place.
I love the sweeps in Muay Thai. They're just, I don't know, such a like alpha way to control someone, I guess, because I guess if that translated into like MMA or whatever, like you'd just jump on them and smash them. So it's kind of that same definitive like way of dealing to someone.
How do you train, actually? That was a question I wanted to ask, with elbows and knees and sweeping. Do you guys do that during sparring, or?
Yeah, so in sparring, like sweeps and knees, like fair game for sure. But obviously, you're not going to like really throw elbows during training. Sometimes when clinching in that, like with certain people, yeah, like you can, I guess, set elbows up or like mimic them.
Yeah.
Obviously, not follow through and make contact, but mostly hitting pads, I guess, is the bag is when you're
True.
sort of, I guess, getting a feel for how it would be to hit someone with an elbow in real life. And the first time I ever did that, I was like, it felt wrong, man. I was like, this feels like too brutal. Like I'm going to get in trouble for this or something, you know?
And you're doing those ruthless downward elbows too.
Those, yeah, fake your teeth and tomahawk down. They're brutal, man. Like I didn't really land any of those like super clean. And I didn't even throw any in my last fight.
Well, it seemed like he was about your height, whereas the Thai guy seemed a little shorter.
He was a little shorter.
Yeah, so I guess it's a little easier.
A little bit more short and stout. But yeah, it's unfortunate. Like I've watched those videos obviously back hundreds of times now, like breaking down every little bit of what I did. None of them really landed as flush as I would have wanted to, but I feel like if those do land, they're a pretty brutal way to wrap things up.
Well, I mean, the elbow you landed for your knockout win in Thailand was pretty brutal. Like, just the way you knocked him out cold, like, he just face planted.
Oh, man.
What was that? Like, what emotions were running through you when that happened?
Well, in the moment, it's all like a hot rush. It's like, you know, you feel you've fulfilled your bloodlust. I'm just like pumped. It's just full adrenaline, crazy. Everything's loud, intense, you know. But then afterwards, I sort of like, I guess, when the initial rush of that had cooled off, I guess the adrenaline faded away. I don't know, started thinking about it, and like, I don't know, it was almost like a PTSD thing, man. I was like, saw this guy just like go limp on the ground, and like, I don't know, it was all just like processing it, I guess. It was crazy, man. Obviously like stoked to win, but then I was like, fucking hell, like, thank God that wasn't me. That would have fucking hurt,
Well, and thank God that he got up, right?
Yeah, and that too. And like, you know, afterwards, like he didn't speak any English, man. Like we had a moment afterwards, like, you know, as much as you can without speaking the same language. But like, as you know, when you scrap someone, you're probably bonded to them, especially in a sport way. But he's just a lovely dude, man. He's probably just some Thai fella coming to fight for the money and like have a chance of like knocking out some foreigner for us.
You just knocked him out cold in front of all his family, all his friends.
Entire family. I was like, holy shit, man, this sport is so brutal. That's what I thought. And afterwards, like all my friends like wanting to go party and celebrate. Like I just wanted to go home by myself, jump into bed and like wrap myself in a duvet, bro, and like chill out, you know, like process the violence I'd just been a part of.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Imagine what it would have been like 100 years ago if we like went to war. Do you think it would be that same thing where just in the moment you're just like, just adrenaline, and then after it happens you're like, holy shit.
Yeah, you'd be brewing on the like atrocities you'd just witnessed or like, you know, partaken in. For sure, man. Like I think everyone's probably got this like beast that they can tap into in the moment that's capable of like horrific things, but like, yeah, when you definitely are left with time to brew on it and process it, for sure. I would hate to go to war, man.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
Terrifying prospect. Terrifying. I've been listening to some audiobook about I think it's called Bliss. Have you heard of it? It's a journalist and like historian who dipped into the archives in some European country. I don't know the details exactly, but he sort of brought to light the use of amphetamines and meth and various like stimulants from the Nazis during World War II.
Oh yeah.
And like how it like likely influenced all these like major unexpected victories that they had that obviously like changed the whole course of the war. But like, you're just getting on that from the whole war situation, but fuck, man. Like that was a super interesting. Oh, I think I linked it to you. Didn't I?
Yeah, I listened to the podcast, right?
Yeah,
so it was
what
that
did you
dude.
think about that?
That dude wrote the book. Yeah, okay.
I can't remember his name.
Yeah, it was trippy, eh? Was it Norman?
Insane,
maybe.
Man.
I don't know.
Yeah,
but bro, that podcast was interesting where he was like talking about how his granddad was a Nazi and how that made him feel. But imagine imagine how that would make you feel. It's like you find out your granddad was like, went to war, but he was a Nazi.
Yeah.
You're like, ugh. I guess like if you were in that situation, everyone likes to say they wouldn't do those terrible things, but you don't really know until you put in one of those situations, right?
Yeah, it's a terrifying time to be alive, man.
100%. But yeah, the methamphetamine thing was interesting. How they went on that 3-day mission where they were like gonna, I think, take over France, and the only way was to do it like 3 days straight. So they were like pumping all their soldiers up on amphetamines. So they're just like, yeah, let's go.
That is like such a terrifying prospect, like an army of like methed up Nazis driving
literally
tanks.
It's so scary.
Oh, they said in the actual audiobook, he was talking about one general in particular that was like going super hard on this, and like they went through this town, and there's all these accounts of this guy like opening the hatch up and like hang out the hatch like just like methed up to the max.
Well, like, shoot me if you can.
Yeah, just like going off, man. Oh, it's terrifying.
Yeah, that's wild, man.
How crazy is that though? Like the government just like doping all the brothers up on hearty stimulants.
Yeah, well, I guess it would be. I would think that Navy SEALs and shit would have the same sort of options available. Like if they'd go on some hearty missions, I'm sure that they would have some form of drugs to keep them, like at attention at all times, I guess.
For sure. Well, you're probably at a disadvantage if you don't utilize those sorts of things, right?
But then you got to be careful because, like they talk about in the podcast, like for long-term victory, it was not a good idea. Short-term victory, it was good, but long-term, all the brothers turn into meth addicts and they're like itching while they're like trying to,
Yeah. Is that a Kiridu?
Yeah, probably. There's lots of tuis and Kiridu and stuff that go around there.
Wow. But yeah, I mean, you can hear them all. It's beautiful, man.
My cats just sit there staring at them, eh?
Oh, I bet.
When I had Sean and Eva as our neighbour, like 2 houses down, they had a cat, Kenobi, and I literally would watch him like go up to the top of one of those trees. Like he would claw his way up to the top.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah. It is a real peaceful background.
It's beautiful, eh? Like I didn't realise how much I missed native New Zealand bird sounds until coming back, eh? I mean, Oz has its own flavour of bird life, of course, but yeah, it's pretty unique, yeah.
No, you can't beat New Zealand bush.
For sure.
I actually just recently, the other day, went up there and was trying to hack away at all the gorse that's growing through.
Oh, man.
Because it's all, like, I guess, cleared native. Like, the first thing that grows back is gorse.
Yeah.
Which is a real pain.
Horrible shit, man. It seems to, like, really thrive in this part of the country as well, right? Like, when Dad and I shot those goats yesterday, or the day before yesterday, I was just loaded with gorse, man, and trying to retrieve the bodies was a fucking mission, eh?
True. Did you have to go, like, drag the goats through to any spot, or did you just go up, cut it up and that?
No, we did the butchering where we found the bodies, more or less. Oh, God.
The bodies.
What a...
Some brutal way.
Yeah, what a gnarly experience, man. Talk about confronting experiences. That's...
So is that your second time shooting an animal?
That's my second time, yeah. Well, like I've done the odd bit of rabbit shooting with Dad way back when I was younger, with 22s. But yes, this was my second proper hunting experience, I guess. Shooting a larger animal and doing the butchering process as well.
So your first hunting experience, what did you kill?
It was goats as well. Actually, in the same piece of land.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Wow. It's this time I'll have the opportunity to do hunting to plate as well. So obviously we butchered the goat and prepared the meat, which again gnarly as, but I guess cool to have more of a appreciation of the whole process and witness the process and be a part of it. And yeah, then I'll be able to cook a nice succulent meal for my fam as well, which will be nice, man.
Well, that's all part of it, right? You can't get too caught up in how brutal it is if you respect that animal and eat the meat. It's different if you're just killing it for fun, but yeah, if you take the meat away, you're doing the right thing. It's just a part of nature, bro. It's just, humans need to kill things to eat and survive. Sure. Like, if you're a vegetarian, you're still killing things. You're still going to kill bugs or whatever. If you want to grow your garden out back, it's just, I don't think we have the right to choose what life we can and can't decide is, more precious.
As in, like, all animals have the same equal value of life, you mean?
I guess so, but in a way. But then if you do think about it, I would say like an elephant is, a step above a goat. Like I wouldn't want to kill an elephant. So I guess there is levels.
Something with more like awareness or a more sentient being.
Well, I think that's it. Like, do you base it on intelligence?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's an interesting topic. I don't know the answers to, but it's like who are we to decide? Like everyone's going to have a different opinion, right? Clearly, vegans and vegetarians have different opinions because they don't want to kill an animal that's walking around, but they would happily kill, I don't know, a stoat or a rat or something that's eating away at their veggies, their beans or whatever, their soybeans for the soy boys.
That's it, man. Yeah, I guess where do you sort of draw that line, right? And like you say, everyone's going to have different opinions on where that line should be drawn. But I don't know. I mean, now I have like this deep respect for people that go and procure their own meat through means of hunting, man. Like, I think what you're doing is awesome. It's quite cool to have witnessed that whole passion come to fruition from afar. Like, you're right into it now, man. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah, well, and it really just came out of nowhere, right?
I was thinking this, like, do you think that the whole hunting thing sort of was birthed from getting more into the hiking scene and that? Like, was that the next sort of logical step in the evolution of that whole, I don't know, hobby, I guess?
In a way, but I was pretty content with hiking because you're still out there in nature and it's more like the camaraderie going out with the brothers and stuff. Like when we went to Angela's hut and stuff, it's pretty cool adventures.
Awesome, yeah.
But I would say the hunting was more, honestly, like listening to too much Joe Rogan and stuff where they were going on about like, providing meat. And then I got into a little bit with Patty of like end of the world type shit and just being prepared and all this. And I was like, okay, I'm keen to get a rifle. And then to sort of justify my actions of getting a rifle, I'm like, I'll get into hunting. And then just from there, after doing the hunts course, it was like cemented. I was like, okay, I guess I can call myself a hunter, but still obviously very rookie at it, but trying to learn and get better. But once you get into it, it's you either figure out it's for you or it's not for you.
So you had that realization pretty quickly that this is something you want to pursue more and pour some more resource into.
Yep. And I guess I spent so much time on the hunts course just gaining skills, and then it almost seems, obviously I've invested in a rifle and they cost a lot of money, and it almost seems a waste to not go and use that.
Yeah.
And one of the coolest things is actually taking out the boys and letting them experience it for the first time. Because, I mean, we're both city boys growing up. I never really had anyone to do that for me. I didn't really know anyone growing up that was like a sort of hunt to do. We're all just city boys, go to school, go home, play PlayStation, whatever. And so all my mates are sort of the same. So it's cool to get them out and let them experience their first kill as well.
So having experienced, like you said, the first kill with a few different, friends, what are the reactions or like feelings that possess people after that experience? Are they fairly like uniform?
Nah, it is very interesting. Like definitely lots of different situations. So I took Monty out first. Well, I guess I should start off with the hunts course is when... No, actually, my mate Les down south took me for a hunt, and that was my first animal. I got a Himalayan Thar near Mount Cook, so it was like pretty hearty first kill, and that was all good because he's like a super experienced hunter, like 20 years hunting. I used his 7mm Rem mag, but we're lining up a bull Thar actually on that trip. That was 400 meters away, and he was like, shoot it. I was like, bro, I don't think so. Like,
there's a long way.
There's a long way, and I think he would have taken that shot comfortably, but I was like, nah, I'm not comfortable doing this because I'm just gonna miss it, and then or nick it in the butt and injure it, and then it's not fair. But I ended up getting the Thar, and I guess my emotions were, I was definitely very shaky, and I was very not scared, but like nervous to go up to that animal when we got to it. I was like, is it dead? Like I just didn't really know what to do. But Les was real good. He's like, no, it's all good. It's dead. There was a good shot, blah, blah, blah. Like he was trying to give me positive sort of vibes. And then I was most worried about cutting it up. And once I got to it, I was actually fine. Like, I just decided my hands are going to get bloody and dirty, but it's all good. Just, I'll wash them after. No need to worry. And then anyway, so I went through that experience and then went on the hunts course, got a few more goats, sort of getting used to it, going out with Paddy. And then I took Monty for his first hunt. And, bro, that was an adventure, man. Like, Kelly and Bliss dropped me and Monty to the top of this logging track road that we were not meant to be up. And it was in Bliss's, like, shitty two-wheel drive car on, like, the side of a cliff, bro. And he was, like, skidding out. And, like, me and Monty were in the back. Monty was just, like, silent because he was nervous. Higgy was, like, the rally car assistant, just like left, right, left, pedal. It was crack up. Anyway, they drove us to the top of this logging track, and it was like private property, which we later found out. So we had to cut through this dude's private property. It was like pouring down with rain. Got in, rainy as, and then we're like mishing through the bush. We actually saw this beautiful deer. This huge deer came out. Monty was a little not distracted, but I guess he just wasn't focused enough, I guess. And I saw it, and then like 2 seconds later, I think he saw it, but then by that time it was like it had seen us and it was gone.
Who had the gun?
Monty had the rifle. And then we hooked up the stream, and then we sort of just came around this corner, and there was this big billy goat there. And Monty just like put the rifle up, calm as ever, and just boom, dropped it.
Wow.
So I was like real proud of him, mate. Like he didn't panic at all. He was so calm, bro. Just boom, dropped it.
It was a standing shot as well.
Standing shot, yeah. In the bush, the goat was like standing side on perfect, and like dropped him dead. Like we went over there 20 seconds to get to him, and the goat was like dead. So must have like hit him in the heart or in the lungs or whatever. And then yeah, like it was all good cutting it up. He was fine with the whole like grossness of it, but it was raining and cold, and he was like moaning that he's getting a sore back and all this shit. I'm like, bro, we're gonna get this done. I was getting cold too.
Yeah.
And then I took my brother out. And
so you've already taken Josh out?
Yeah, I've taken him out once, so he's got one goat in his books, and same place in the Orongorongas, same stream actually. We went up, and we didn't actually see too many animals that trip, but then all of a sudden there was like these 3 goats right in front of us, and I think I hadn't prepared him enough because I kept telling him about that experience with Monty with the deer, that when we saw it, you literally had like 1 to 2 seconds, and then that was your chance gone. And so I think I didn't make it clear enough that I guess goats aren't always like that. You usually have a little bit more time with goats because they're a bit more like, who are you? What is this? It's just not in they're like a farm animal, so it's not in their nature just to be like run instantly. And so Josh just sees these goats, and he just puts the scope up, pretty much just like quick scopes this goat. And like he dropped it, he killed it. I think I had to run up and finish it off.
How was that experience for you, running up and having that more, as you put it, intimate hunting experience?
Well, it was very brutal the first time I did it. Like I definitely didn't enjoy it, and I still don't enjoy it. Like I want to become a way better shot that I don't have to go through any of those again, because it's not fun, bro. Like yeah, they're
That's
like
brutal.
They're like crying. I mean, it's like a death cry too. Yeah, and you, in a way, like this is very brutal for anyone listening, but I'm just trying to put them out of their misery as fast as I can. So I'm just like hacking away at its throat, just trying to kill the thing so it stops suffering. Yeah. But sometimes it takes a lot longer than you think. So anyway, I did that to Josh's goat. I think I went up, and it was just like heat of the moment. I was like, do you want to do it? And he's like, oh, you can do it if you want. And then I just like, boom, just finish it off. And then we cut that meat up. He was like pretty good at like listening to the instructions, cut it up, packed it out. And then we took it to Anu, and his dad owns an Indian takeaway shop, and he cooked us up a mean curry with our goat. And then we like sat down as a family, and we all ate the goat curry.
That's sick. What kind of curry did he make? I'm curious.
Hit me with some curry names. Was
it a sagwala?
No, it wasn't that.
That's what I'm going to make with my one.
Right. It was like a common, like it was just a common curry. Was it a tikka masala maybe? I don't know. It was nice though. It was real good. Actually, the first time I shot that tar and I took it home, because Les is like quite a South Island bloke. He's just like cutting it up. Wasn't really telling me about trying not to get hairs in the meat and stuff like that. So I came home and I cooked it. There was so many tar hairs in it. And Taylor, I was trying to get Taylor to eat it, and she's like, "What is this?" I'm like, "Nah, it's all good. Just close your eyes and eat it." But she was like pulling hairs out of her mouth, like horrified.
That's pretty gnarly, yeah.
Yeah.
What is that? Just essentially just like goat meat. Really?
What, tar? Yeah, it's a mountain goat. So they literally imported them from the Himalayas back in like early 1900s and put them to the top of Mount Cook, because New Zealand was meant to be like a hunting paradise. So it's literally like the rich English. But it's a buzzy story if you look into it. But they created like ski lifts for the tar and like put them to the top of the mountain, and now they've just spread. And now we have these beautiful mountain goats just rolling around the South Island. And the same with chamois, which is it's a very unique animal. So that's on my list to go down and get.
Yeah, right. And so where are those chamois introduced from? Or are they native?
Nah, they're not native. I would say the same. They're like a weird form of mountain goat as well. Chamois are those ones you see those crazy videos of, like those literally just like a sheer rock face, and a goat can like climb its way up and, you know, be on like tiny little ledges.
Yeah, it's incredible, right?
It's super incredible.
I don't understand it looking at the bottom of a goat's foot and like the whole hoof structure when I was, you know, skinning it or whatever. I was like, I don't understand how they can do these incredible feats with these things, man. These like hard, clunky, you know, shoes essentially.
Yeah, like it looks like they would slip very easily off a rock, right? What's interesting cutting up an animal is like you don't really think about these things until you do it, but humans, we have like shoulder joints and stuff. But a goat or a deer, it's literally their muscle is just attached to their body. So like you can just, with enough force, just like rip their arm off, which is pretty brutal. But like you hack away with a knife and then it just comes off and there's no shoulder joint or anything. It's just attached to their body. It's like all one piece, which is real buzzy.
It's crazy, right? I guess that's part of the whole confronting nature of like, you know, butchering an animal is like looking at this like muscle and sinew and all this stuff. I'm like, oh, that's what's inside me too. Like, you know, probably not all that different.
Exactly.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
And I took Blissy out as well, and it was his first animal. And we went for a huge mission, and we couldn't get anything. And it was funny because this is where I always say the path leads you to good things. I was like on the journey of like cold showers and shit, and I was like to Bliss, all right, we've had a big day, we've got nothing. I'm going to go down to the river and have like a cold dip and get some cold exposure. He's like, yeah, all good, we'll come. And I was like, we better bring the rifle just in case. Bro, literally go down. I'm like procrastinating, getting in the water. Blissy just sits down the rifle, is just like looking through the river, more just like having a gaze. And I'm like procrastinating, looking in the distance. And I'm like, holy shit, Bliss, there's a goat. And then he's like, where? And I was like, literally almost right where you're looking. And he just like angles left a little bit. He's like, oh, I see it. I'm like, line it up. And then I like got the rangefinder. It was like 70 meters or something. And he took a shot. He missed. The goat ran, stopped again. He like reloaded, and then boom, like perfect shot. So it was like, I don't know what happened to the first one, but the second shot was like perfect, vital shot. Dropped it. Bliss, yeah, I think he did really well in that moment. He had a lot of emotions, like happy emotions. He was like real happy, almost like sort of had like a weird nervous laughter come out, but it was more just like like he just needed to get something out.
Yeah.
And then we went over, and he struggled a little bit with I'm throwing him under the bus here, but he struggled a little bit with the butchery side of things. I think he was just a bit like grossed out by it. But he still did it. Like I forced him to do it. And it, you know, I mean, he forced himself, but I was more just motivating him. Nah, come on, bro. Like you do it. He's like, nah, you just do it. I'm like, no. You got to learn. Like you drop this animal, you got to cut it up as well.
Complete the process.
Exactly. It's a skill to have. And I think he was a bit like me. He didn't want to get his hands dirty and shit. But I'm like, bro, it's all good. Just you're going to get your hands dirty for the next hour, and then you just go wash them off later, and just don't worry about it. So yeah, did that. And that's all the boys so far that I've taken out. I've done a few missions with Paddy and a few of his mates too, and got them their first animal. So it's Yeah, it's a cool experience. Hopefully more to come with a few more of the boys.
No, I'm sure, mate. I'm sure.
I took Higgy down to the range the other day, and he is a mean shot. Like, he was at 200 meters, bro. He's pretty much smoking the bullseye.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think he's definitely ready. Just got to take him out there. I hope we see an animal tonight.
Will it be tomorrow that we would probably see it, right? Like,
yeah,
well,
well,
think it'll be dark by the time we start walking in.
That is true. I mean, they come out at sunset and sunrise, so we might hit that perfect time where they could be coming out. That'd be great because ideally, best case scenario, me, you, and Josh all get an animal, and if we can nab one tonight, it's a lot less pressure tomorrow.
So, say one of us got an animal, and obviously the trip is going to continue. You would just take various portions of the animal, put it in your pack, discard of the remaining pieces, and carry on.
I think we'll try to take all the meat we can. Like, we can easily pack out a whole animal each, or a goat anyway. A deer would be a different story.
Yeah.
But we can just, because we're coming back the same way we go in, so we can just cut up an animal and leave the meat hanging in a tree or just in the bush and just collect it on the way out.
And I guess, we're only going for 24 hours max.
Yeah.
So.
That's absolutely fine to do that. Do you have some meat bags?
No.
Okay.
Is that a special type of bag in its own right, or?
Well, what did you put the meat in when you?
Just a like a polyweave sack that you might buy, like a bag of firewood in or something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Rog had lying around.
Well, that's probably all good.
Yeah.
I think it's like mutton cloth they call it, which you can use for meat. But I have specific meat bags, but you can use pillowcases as well. I think you just want cotton.
Okay.
So maybe bring one of your old pillowcases if you can, or something to chuck your meat in.
I'm sure Mum would be a big fan of me smuggling animal portions inside one of her pillowcases. Hey, might have to steal Roger's polyweave instead.
Yeah, fair enough. It's definitely a write-off the pillowcase if you do it with meat.
Yeah. Look, it's a grisly process, that whole side of it. But I guess that deepens the appreciation for where your food comes from, man.
100%.
So gnarly.
All right, let's have a pause. I really need to go to the toilet.
Yeah, mate. That's it. Right. Well, the hunting and fishing has come out.
It has. Ready for tonight. Ready to go.
It's a nice one. The blue one. I haven't seen that before.
I've had it for years. It's a cheap one.
Yeah.
It's good out in the bush, nice and light.
I actually got myself a couple of hunting and fishing freshies yesterday in preparation for our expedition into the bush tonight.
Did you find yourself a jacket?
I did, yeah. The same one that Rog has, actually.
Nice.
Not the
father,
same,
like son.
Well, not the same pattern. He wanted me to get the same camo as him, but...
Too cool for that.
Yeah.
How much did that set you back?
170.
Oh, yeah, that's all good for a jacket.
Look, I need one too. Like I said, I'm not... I don't have all these outdoor activity supplies in Australia. Like, I sort of have to build up my, all the stuff that I would take on one of those missions, because I sold it all when I left. So slowly we're rebuilding. Be good to get a tent and start getting into a bit more of the hiking scene in Oz, because it is such a beautiful country, man, and there is so much to see. I guess there's also an added element of like gnarly wildlife that can fuck you up as well when you're doing it in Oz. Like,
imagine hearing a snake like in your tent. That would be scary.
It would be fucking terrifying. Those things are scary, man. They are scary, and they're out there too. Like, I mean, in my year that I spent in Oz, I probably only run into a snake 3 times. Wow, so it's not like you're stepping over them or anything, but they're out there.
But if you're out exploring a bit more, you're bound to see more of the wildlife, right?
For sure. Yeah. Well, the one that really trips me out, man, is that, the further north you get, you run into croc country, as they put it. That's fucking terrifying, man.
That's so scary.
Huge lizards that will watch you for days and learn your routine and then, take you when you're least expecting it.
Because that's what they do, right? They see like what time you go get water from the lake and yeah, that's scary.
Apparently that's how it is. Yeah, they watch you for a while and learn your routine at what time of day you're likely to pass through certain areas, and that's A calculating, cold, brutal, murdering lizard, man. That's fucked up.
Yeah, see, that's intelligence in a way.
For sure it is, yeah. Yeah, used in a very brutal way, right? Like, I haven't seen any crocs yet, even though I've been in croc country, but I'm really keen to, like, in my own personal time, roam around croc country and try and see some. Like, there's something crazy to me and fascinating about, like, predatorial animals. Like, you know, if you cross this thing, there's a good chance that if you make a mistake, this animal will literally consume you for energy. It's terrifying, man.
That's one way to put it.
It's terrifying.
That is terrifying. I can see you've always been attracted to danger too, I'd say. Like, didn't one time you climb up to the top of a cell tower or something in New Zealand?
Yes. Yeah, up in the Coromandel. What was that place?
I'd say that's a pretty dangerous thing to do.
Exhilarating, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you jumped off a few gnarly bridges too, haven't you?
Off the is it the Clyde Bridge? Or one of those bridges down near Alex.
Yeah.
That was the traumatizing encounter with the large drop into the Clutha River.
Did you find that video? Do you have it?
I do actually have it, on this lappy. There's a few funny archived videos and photos I was going to show you, which I think you'll get some amusement out of.
Oh, I'm keen to check them out.
From back in the day.
Yeah, that backflip video is brutal. You just like back slap into the water.
That was terrible, man. I had these really weird circle bruises like around my kidney sort of area, and I was coughing up a little bit of blood. Ever since then, man, I've like backed off the whole cliff jumping situation.
Good call.
Like, there's a definite limit now that I'm not willing to go past it.
I experienced it when I was down south with Anu one time. We went up to the remarkable ski field in the summer. And it was still freezing, but obviously it's closed, so there's no one there. And we climbed up the ladder to get to the ski lift, and there was obviously no one there. And bro, it's like you climb a ladder, which anyone can do at small heights, and then you get to a certain height, and you almost forget how to climb a ladder. You're like freaking out. I was doing like double, like 2 hands on each, and then 2 feet, and then 2 hands rather than like the 1-1-1.
Crazy, right? And like, I bet your limbs start feeling heavy, and it starts feeling draining to like hold on to the rungs and stuff, right? Like,
and then when we got to the top, like we were up there and we were both freaking out. And it's like, fuck, now we have to climb down this thing.
That's the worst part, right? Jeez, man, that's terrifying. So was there like no snow? It was just bare rock that you were climbing up?
Mainly bare rock, but there was definitely ice and stuff in the river. Like, there was a little creek flowing, so it was still freezing, but there was no snow.
That would have been incredible scenes though as well, no doubt.
Oh, it was awesome. It's pretty cool that you can just go up there. I don't know, obviously you're not meant to go where we went, but anyone can really access it, just driving up to the top.
And just walk.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool that you can do that.
I think there actually is a walking track where you can walk the ski fields, but you just obviously have to be prepared, which we weren't, because we were just like, let's just do this all down here. Probably like shorts and a t-shirt, and then you're just freezing.
Oh man, it's so brutal how cold it is in New Zealand. I was looking at the weather report for where I live on the sunny coast, and like, your highs match our lows over there, you know? Like, it's such especially here in Wallis, that southerly is so brutal, man. Like, I sat on the deck and watched a southerly front roll in real time in front of me. Like, in the space of 5 minutes, had gone from a relatively placid day to then just this black, gloomy, blowing, wet, cold front, man. It's ruthless, eh?
Yeah. Flying in last night from Dunners, there was some mad turbulence on the plane. It's just like classic Wellington. Yeah. I think we're just flying over Blenheim, like almost sort of back into the Wellies over the straight, and then just boom, the whole plane just drops, and everyone's like freaking out. So this is pretty, it's not standard, but it's always windy, but that was actually pretty gnarly turbulence yesterday. That is funny. Yeah,
you would have racked up a fair few trips flying in and out of Bali over the years, right? How long have you been doing this particular line of work for now?
I've been at Seymour's for 8 years now.
Wow.
But traveling like probably quite heavily for the last 5 to 6 years. Like, I'm flying 2 to 4 times a week. So it's, I'm like in the airport, on the planes all the time.
Do you have like a frequent flyers situation going on.
Yeah, right.
You must have accumulated a fair few points by now, man.
Gold elite.
Oh, wow.
I always joke with Monies because he just got a job at Air New Zealand.
Yeah.
He's going to have to serve me. Like, take my bags, bitch.
He's here at the moment, eh?
Yeah, he's in Wallis. I'm hoping I'm going to see him this weekend.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it just becomes part of routine traveling for work. Lately, I've been I've always tried to make the most of it by training at random gyms down there and go on adventures. But lately, I've been going on all my raw milk adventures, trying to capture them and chuck them on YouTube.
Mate, I've been keeping up to date with the raw milk situation.
Nice.
Very cool. Very cool. No, it's cool to see little snippets of what you can get up to down south. It's a cool situation that you have, being able to travel for work and, I guess, explore the South Island in a bit more depth, free of charge. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you're not having
100%.
to pay for these flights yourself, and you're working for a fair amount of time when you're down there, but then you do have these opportunities to like whip into a gym and train with, like, you know, people from a different island, man. It could be a different country, really.
And the South Island, everyone's so nice down there. And my work is pretty good. Like, if I want to fly back a day later, they'll be like, all good, just whatever, take annual leave the next day and just change your flight to that day. So I can, you know, I used to back in the day go snowboarding with like Monies and stuff. Well, you came down for that one trip.
Yeah. That was just before I left, right?
Yeah. But even this week, I was in Oamaru at the lolly shop, one of the just like confectionery factory shops. And like dudes, you know, like there was a dude that was about 23, and most dudes that age are like pretty, you know, like we grew up in the city, you don't really talk to random people, everyone's on their phones, blah, blah, blah. There's just some random dude just walking. It's just like, oh, what'd you get, mate? I'm like, oh, I got this. Oh, yeah, they look good. He's just like, have a good day, and just like walks off, and then like goes and sits down and chats with his brother. And just, I don't know, like, everyone's so friendly, I guess, down there.
Yeah.
It's just those small town vibes.
Yeah, right. So do you think, say here in Wallis or the Hutt Valley has a different feel to it in terms of, like, I don't know, just the general face value friendliness of people on the street?
I'd say so. I think it's just any city. You can't keep up with saying hi to every random person you walk past, because you're walking past, you know, hundreds of people.
Yeah.
Whereas in a small town, it's like you sort of know everyone, and you can say hi because you're walking past someone every 3 or 5 minutes rather than 5 people every second, you know, like in Wellington City. So I think it's just the area. And then it goes back to like the whole Melbourne and Wellington thing, where I just personally couldn't live in a big concrete jungle, because I just love, like, you know, small town vibes, having this bush right here and just like not that busy city life.
That's it, man. Yeah, I don't think I'm built for that high density living either, to be honest.
I wanted to ask you about your current living situation. What's your current work situation? You're working in the mines at the moment.
Yeah, so I ended up quitting my job when I was in Asia for that last little trip. So I moved from a consulting based role where I was a geotech design engineer for a mining consultancy. So I was mostly office based, working from home as well, occasionally getting sent out to site to have some involvement in some type of drilling program on a mine site for coal mining, that is, in northern Queensland. So now I have been employed by a consultancy that send out like field-based geologists to site to be, like, I guess, based long-term for various projects. So at the moment I'm working at a bauxite mine in northern Queensland, near Cape York. Bauxite is like a aluminium ore, essentially.
Right.
So yeah, I'm doing what's called FIFO, fly in, fly out, 14 days on, 14 days off. 14 days in a row of 12-hour shifts can be fairly brutal.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, it's a massive test, I guess, of everything, really. I guess, like, if there's demons bubbling away below the surface, they'll make their way up. When you're stuck out there for 2 weeks straight, makes maintaining, like, those, you know, pretty key essential daily practices pretty tough as well. Like, I like to get some form of intense daily movement in at least once per day, but being on your feet for 12 hours and nearly 40 or even in some cases 40 plus degree heat.
That's so
tough.
brutal. But it would almost be more important to make sure you're still doing those workouts and stuff, right? For your sanity.
Absolutely,
for your mental health.
Absolutely. Yeah, because this operation as well is a fairly small mine, so I've been to involved in some projects where you're staying in the accommodation is like a village. It takes 20 minutes to walk from one side to the other. This one is pretty small, and you're seeing the same people around, on a weekly basis. So staying sane is it's key.
What does everyone else do? Are you the most disciplined person working out and stuff, or is there lots of other people like you?
It's interesting, for this particular site that I'm at, there are regulars, like you see the same sort of people coming in. Others you see more often and more frequently are obviously a bit more disciplined and keeping their routine up themselves. But yeah, I mean, I'm in there every single day when I'm in the mine, so I see who's slacking and who's not.
Yeah.
There's a couple of hard out old dudes, like real good guys. His name's Pete. See him in there every day.
As in the gym?
Yeah, in the gym, shifting tin, man. He's an older fella, but pretty fit dude. See him in the mess hall as well. He has an interesting diet selection. He eats a bowl of oats for dinner with garlic and some form of protein, like whatever the meat is.
Fuzzy.
Yeah, so he's a pretty, special case in how disciplined he is. But it's surprising how, there's hardly anyone using the gym facilities up there.
Well, I guess like you say, if you're on your feet for 12 hours and you just, is there a pub or something that people go to?
There is a pub, and that's where everyone is.
Right, well, there you go.
So it's quite funny because where I am, I think I've seen you photos of the sort of teardrop shaped bag that's just hanging under this sort of metal lean-to. It's a super prison gym kind of setup, which is cool. But where I stand hitting the bag, I can see everyone sitting at the pub.
Right.
Just which gives me a little bit of extra motivation.
Oh, 100%. They're probably looking at you like, fuck, I'm sitting here on the beers. That guy's working out.
Well, I guess that's the mortal sin of the mines. That's what everyone tells you when you say, I'm going to go work in the mines. They're like, just don't, piss it up. Because apparently that's a super common thing out there is, people will just go grind in the desert for 2 weeks, get this enormous paycheck, and they've just been away from the entire world or their entire life, and so they come back heavily cashed up, super deprived of any stimulus, and then just go wreak havoc for their 2 weeks off, spend all their money, get into trouble, whatever. So yeah, man, I'm pretty careful not to fall into those sort of destructive cycles.
That's good. I'm glad to hear. I've chatted to a few blokes down in Invercargill that do the same thing, the FIFO work, and they were saying how one of my mates was saying, he is a good mate that does it, and he gets severely depressed leading up to the days that he has to go back to the mines, which is quite scary to think. But he'll get 2 weeks off. Apparently he'll sometimes come to Invercargill, go into the bush for 10 days straight, and then like I say, go into that depression cycle knowing he has to go back to the torture for 2 weeks.
For sure. Yeah, I can fully relate to that, man. I'd be lying if I said I haven't had pangs of anxiety thinking about, that's only, already 1 week of my 2 weeks off in New Zealand gone, fuck. But then again, I guess it's just as important to be careful how you frame that stuff, right? Mentally, because if you're telling yourself, going to have to go back and it's going to be punishment, then it is you're just kind of setting yourself up to walk into that sort of situation, right?
I agree. You got to have the right mindset of it. All right, another 2 weeks to grind. Let's go.
For sure.
Yeah.
I've spent enough time out there now that I've sort of figured out how I have to frame it for myself to make it feel less punishment, I guess.
And how do you frame it? Is it 2 weeks of training, get the bank account up?
Yeah, I mean, I'm constantly reminding myself of why I'm doing this, and it's a means to an end, It's interesting work. It's fairly interesting. It somewhat appeals to my inner geologist, my inner nerd, but I'm not out there slaving away in the desert for 2 weeks straight for my love of geology. I'm there to acquire the funds and then enable a lifestyle. So I'm reminding myself that this is to enable the lifestyle, to go travel, to, pursue other financial related goals. So yeah, I'm constantly reminding myself of that. I'm bad at constantly opening my calendar and counting how many days down. But for me, it is just the key of like keeping a routine, a schedule, like that accountability for getting the daily movement in, just doing all the things that I know are good for me, because it only takes one day to fall off that track, slip into that, I guess, darker downward spiral of, oh, I'm here for 2 weeks. Like,
and it would be so hard, I would say, to get out of that too. Like, imagine you're in that dark, depressive cycle and you're just going to the pub every night. Like, that'd be so much harder to break out of that cycle than to stay in a healthy routine like you're doing.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm starting to notice that, even, like I said, having a couple of weeks off after the fight, of just chilling out on the training, like eating a less restrictive diet. And I'm like now starting to feel like it's probably time that I start, getting back into things, easing back in, or like maintaining a decent level of fitness. So I'm not doing what we said earlier, like going through these high highs and low lows in terms of like weight and fitness and all that. So yeah, I mean, once you get stuck in that rut out there, I imagine it'd be pretty tough to claw your way out.
For sure. What is the food options when you're out there?
So it's a buffet selection for breakfast. They also have like a cold sort of bar where you make your lunch.
What do you mean? Like, so do you have like a 1 hour lunch break or something that you guys can go to that bar?
No, so you got to make your lunch in the morning.
Oh, okay. Take it out.
Breakfast. So like they have fruit. I guess, what would you even call it? Like, there's salami, hams, that sort of thing to make sandwiches or wraps, whatever you like. There's also a fridge full of plastic containers of like leftovers from dinners of previous nights.
Right.
Which are more like, I guess, proper meals rather than like sandwiches or something like that. So I tend to go for those. So that's lunch, breakfast is the buffet, and then dinner is a buffet as well.
Well, that sounds not bad.
It is pretty good, and the chefs are also on FIFO as well. So you have one chef for 2 weeks, then another chef for another 2 weeks, and same with the morning crew as well. So
and they'll be getting some good cash, you think, those chefs?
I think everyone doing FIFO is earning relatively good cash, yeah. Because, you've got to compensate people for disappearing from their normal life for 2 weeks and coming out into the middle of nowhere and living in this little cult-like community, Yeah.
So is everyone on the 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off? Or is there some hard-out guys that are like, I'm going 3 months straight or whatever?
Well, they have... I think most people are on 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. And when you do more than your standard 2 weeks on, there's all these safety precautions that kick in. Like you need a registered day off, a pajama day as they call it,
right,
for fatigue management. So my last swing, you remember I obviously flew to New Zealand earlier than I was supposed to. It was meant to be a 3-week swing. And at the 2-week mark, we had some mechanical issues with our drill rig. So the whole project shut down and they flew us out early. But luckily, I'd already taken my RDO, my registered day off. So one of those days was just like chilling. But man, like a 3-week swing was going to be punishment, eh? Like I'm glad that it all panned out the way it did. It was starting to get pretty tough out there. It's a long time, man. Like 12 hours is a long shift, especially if you're on your feet doing fairly physical work as well.
And are you bossing people around? Are you like head geologists on site, telling the old fellas what to do?
Not really. I wouldn't say I'm like bossing people around, but I mean, I'm employed by the people who own the mine to make sure that we're getting quality geological information, which they need to, move into the next phase of their mining project. So if something needs to be done differently by the drillers so that we can get better information or like canvass the area better, then I let them know. But I don't know, I'm not like rolling around Mr. Big Dick on site telling you.
But it sounds like you're a key part of the operation then. For
sure. Well, I mean, it's only me and one other lady who's my back-to-back. So she does the 2 weeks that I'm out. I do her 2 weeks when she's out. Me and her are the only geos. So yeah, we're the sole procurers of that geology information. Yeah.
Buzzy, I've always wanted to go onto a mine site just to experience it, see what it's like. But I imagine it would just be a completely different world inside there.
They're crazy places, man. Like especially the coal mining scene, because they're such huge scale operations. Like this bauxite mine is like a fairly small, secluded, fairly cowboyish, I guess, in the grand scheme of things, type operation. But some of the coal mines that I've been to over the last year and a half, it's insane the scale. Like those are the ones where the dump trucks, you know, you're not even halfway up the wheel, like you're standing up straight. Like the scale of these things is just mind blowing.
And I guess is that the ones where they have the huge like village, almost like a mini city for all the workers and stuff.
Well, some mine sites have their own villages on site, so you're like essentially on the mine site. You know, maybe 5 minutes to drive to where you'd have your meeting. Others are like independently owned and situated close to a bunch of different mines, which was one of my favorite experiences. I think I sent you photos of it. This place is massive. It took 20 minutes to walk from one side to the other. There were like 3 gyms. They all had pools, punching bags, like full setup, like nicer than the gym that I went to at home, you know.
Yeah, man.
The food was incredible. In the mess hall, there was a like buffet selection, huge, and a separate like Mongolian restaurant inside the mess hall. That was crazy. So you could go and get like some custom Mongolian pimped out noodle dish every night,
Nice.
like you're eating out at a restaurant.
Those restaurants are the Mongolian style, where you just grab all your own food and then they cook it in front of you.
Yeah, it's awesome on that massive hot plate. So that was sick. Yeah, some of them are more luxurious than others. Yeah, this one up north that I'm at the moment is pretty bare bones, man. But it's a vibe in itself, you know.
Yeah, man. I wanted to ask you about your Southeast Asia travels. You've been on some mean adventures out there. Seems like Bali is your go-to, or Indonesia.
Yeah, I guess over the last 4 or 5 years that I've been whipping little trips over to Southeast Asia, I've probably spent the most time in Indonesia. I did my first trip there in 2017 for a couple of weeks with my girlfriend at the time and another couple. That was my first sort of proper, I guess, exotic travel experience, and that was definitely like the catalyst that sparked my interest in that part of the world. So since then I've been back quite a few times now for little solo missions. But I love Indonesia, man. It's a raw, intense, colourful, crazy part of the world. The people are beautiful. The culture is intense and spastic, man. It's in your face, you know. I love it. Yeah, I can't wait to get back over to the tropics, and melt into that warm climate.
What's your go-to when you're over there? You're quite big in the surfing scene, eh?
That's it, man. Yeah, just chasing waves. Usually every time I go to Indo has been to try and track down waves, as well as just like enjoying the general lifestyle that it offers, of course. But yeah, so usually I'd fly into Bali, and then I tend to try and split out of Bali pretty ASAP. It's Bali's awesome, as you know, but it's sort of getting pretty busy, I guess.
It's very like mainstream.
Yeah, well, it's just like the easiest place to get to in Indonesia. Like most international flights would probably be entering Denpasar. Like no one's really, I guess, flying straight to Jakarta and getting amongst there. Like Bali is just easier to do. It's more accessible to everyone. So, for example, my last big trip that I did over there, I flew into Bali. I got all the stuff I needed, like a few surfboards, other supplies, and then I whipped west through to Java. And that was my first time going to Java, and that place was just crazy, man. So from flying into Bali, you can pretty easily, and in not much time at all, navigate your way to neighboring islands that are just like so raw in comparison, like full on unfiltered Indo experience, man. Like super uncomfortable, like not many people speaking English, people looking at you funny, feeling, you know, I guess super uncomfortable and slightly unsafe. Like, those are the places and destinations that excite me, man.
Well, that's like a proper adventure, right? As you're
Sure.
you're going to immerse yourself in their culture.
For sure.
Whereas like when I went to Bali, it's like they literally are like, "G'day, mate." They're like trying to cater to the Aussies, and they're like trying to sell you Australian tourist shit.
Yeah, it's pretty hectic, eh?
Yeah.
It's hectic, man. Every time I've gone back to Bali, because that's been the constant place that I've entered Indonesia from, like every time I go back, man, it's like slightly more developed. There's slightly more, you know, massive apartment buildings and that. Like there's more traffic. There's more like, you know, foreigners. It's like spot the Balinese person when you're there. You know, like. Yeah.
But I feel when me and Tay went, we went up north to one of the big mountains. I can't remember the name, but that was pretty foreign. Like there wasn't many English speaking people.
Mount Agon?
Yeah, maybe.
One?
Yeah, that one. And there was like a little neighboring town where I think a few tourists stay. But I remember I pulled over the side of the road to get petrol, and I was just trying to say like, "Oh, I need fuel, petrol," and the lady like had no idea what I was saying. I was like, "I just need like fuel," and and then some random dude, some Balinese guy, pulled over on a moped, and he's like, "Are you okay, sir?" Like he could obviously speak English, and then she was like speaking to him in Balinese, and then I was like, I just need some fuel. And he's like, he just tells him, she's like, oh, straight away, just like opening my little petrol cap, topping me up.
That's okay.
Oh, it's awesome. And it's crazy what a little bit of money can do for them. Like you can almost change their whole world by tipping them $10 or whatever.
For sure, man. For sure. Like the whole cost and way of living there is so different to how it is here. You can really live on like peanuts over there, man. And I guess that's why it's one of the reasons it's such an attractive destination for people from more developed, more affluent countries, right? As you can go over there with what is considered hardly any money here and live like an absolute king over there. Which is also, I guess, one of the sad parts of Bali is that you do see a lot of these, loaded tourists coming over, taking advantage of that fact and treating the locals poorly and disrespecting the culture. And
that's sad to see when that happens.
It is sad to see, man, and it's tough to witness in person as well. And like if I ever see that kind of thing happening, I'd feel inclined to pipe up. And I hate seeing that sort of stuff because they are some of the sweetest, most generous, authentic people you'll come across.
Yeah, they are
for sure.
And I almost feel like they are not trained, but they must get raised as kids to be very friendly to foreigners, because I remember like all the kids, they always like wave at you too, like if they see like a white man walking, they're like little kids are like waving at you.
Yeah, they're sweet, eh?
Yeah,
man,
especially in those outer towns when we went just on the back of mopeds and stuff, pull up at a traffic light, little kids on the back just like waving.
Yeah, no, Indonesia's awesome, man. Like, and that's the crazy thing about it too, is it literally is thousands of islands. Like Indonesia is a huge country. It stretches like, you can see it on here, man.
On your mini globe. Did you go to the Nusa Penida?
I went to the Penida Islands. I haven't for a while. I did it the first time I ever went to Indonesia. We went out to. I was actually having this chat with one of my good mates the other day. I went to Nusa Penida for the first time ever in 2017. Just like we were staying on Limbongan, went out for a little day mish, did the classic like viewing points.
Did you go down to that crazy beach? Like where you have to...
Yeah, the T-Rex shaped headland, Kling Kling Beach or something like that.
Like beautiful beach, and like incredible. A mission to get there.
Incredible. So did you know now that they're about to build a lift down
to
the beach?
Taylor was telling me this week. Crazy, I don't know how I feel about that.
I guess that summarizes the whole, evolution of Bali kind of nicely, right? As it's this pristine, incredibly beautiful tropical destination full of the most lovely and welcoming people, and then you've got all these like gnarly foreign investors that are loaded up that just want to
profit,
gentrify it, bro. Like, why would you put a huge like metal lift on the side of this like incredibly beautiful headland? Like it's just gonna ruin it, I guess.
And like thinking about it from a health and safety perspective, it actually makes sense, because if there's a medical emergency down there, how are you getting them back up in a hurry? Point. But then that goes back to that's why so many people want to go to Bali. It's because it's raw. It's like you're not in a first world country where everything's developed. It's like you're taking a bit of risk going down there, and it's your choice to do that.
Yeah.
And also the fact I like that beach is everyone down there was like real fit, because to get there was a mish, but now there's going to be like fat ass people just like chilling on the beach.
Well, that's it. I guess the burden of finding these new and untouched places is on people like us now. Like the fit people that want to experience some discomfort to find these more secluded spots. I mean, that's just how it is everywhere, man. Like even in New Zealand, like places in the Coromandel, for example, where I started visiting when I started living up those ways, going to uni, and now there's like new subdivision and houses and roads and places that were like pretty inaccessible are now like pretty well known and loaded with people whenever you go through.
And I think part of it is the grind getting there, like gives you endorphins, and then you remember that place as a more amazing spot than if you just took an elevator down there. You're like, oh, this is another beach. Like, it's cool, but you know, you're grinding, like dripping in sweat, and then when you get to the bottom, you're like full of endorphins. You're like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And then it sticks in your memory too, but not having that grind takes away some of those moments, I think.
It's a good point. I've never thought about it like that. It's probably it does make that end destination that much more surreal way. I mean, that spot, even without the added dopamine, is pretty incredible, right?
There's like monkeys at the top too. Do you remember that?
Yeah, gnarly monkeys, man. Like, that was one of the first encounters that I had with a monkey that was like unpleasant, man, because they were just like proper wild, doing their own thing. People have this perception that monkeys are like cute and stuff, and I had that before I went to Bali, and now I've come back and I'm like, monkeys are fucking savages. They're hectic, man.
Yeah,
they're
like that.
Scary creatures.
Yeah, they are. Like,
even the little ones will fuck you up, bro.
Man, I was just like, I went into the was it the monkey forest or whatever in Ubud?
In Ubud, yeah.
And that was a wake up, literally on entry. Like, a monkey is like forcing another monkey on the ground and like having sex with it. You know, I don't want to say the word because I'll get cancelled, but it was brutal, bro. Just watching them like drag all these babies around. They're all screaming, they're all fighting. It's just like, this is nature.
Man, I've seen at that Ubud monkey forest, people get like slashed in the face by monkeys. Like, they let them climb all over them, like feed them little bananas or whatever. Like, they're ruthless, man.
They are. When we went, there was some dude in a pram, like with his kid in the pram. And this monkey was like trying to get his kid from the pram. It was, and like this dad was like in fight or flight mode, like trying to like protect his baby, and this monkey just kept pestering him, eh?
Holy shit, eh?
Yeah, it's like, bro, get your kid out of here. This is not the place.
Yeah, that's low-key terrifying. I mean, the monkeys in the Uluwatu temple area, I think, are notorious for stealing people's phones, cameras, glasses, keys, and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, haven't they figured out, because the park rangers or whatever will give them like banana to get the phone back, sort of thing?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I've seen that. So it's like they're almost like trading with the monkeys, like, you know, give us that stuff back and we'll
bargain
give you.
with them.
Yeah, and now they've realised that, and they're like, oh yeah, who are we gonna steal from now?
Oh, well, it makes sense, eh?
It's the evolution. Where else in Southeast Asia have you gone? I think ages ago you told me you went, was it to Vietnam? You were in like Laos.
Yeah, so that was the trip that I set out on when I left New Zealand pretty much exactly 2 years ago from now. So I flew straight to Indonesia. I did 2 months there, jumping around different islands: Bali, Java, Sumbawa, Sumatra, Lombok. Then from there I flew directly to Thailand. So into Bangkok, a few days in the big city, linked up with some old friends from New Zealand who took me out to Koh Tao, which is where I had my first Muay Thai experience on that island. So I spent a month in Thailand, mostly just on that one island, which I must admit, every time I go back to Thailand, I have been back to that one island. I haven't explored as much of mainland Thailand as I should, but that'll be the focus for the next time I head over, I think. So from Thailand, I went to Laos. I think that was like a 17-hour bus ride from Bangkok. Yeah, which is a big thing in Asia, right? Especially for the backpacker doing things on a fairly restricted budget, is doing these outrageously long overnight bus trips, which are cheap and an experience in themselves, right? Because everyone doing it is kind of on the same buzz. They're all these young foreign backpackers, and it's almost like a hostel on wheels for that duration of the bus
like
ride.
a social experience as well.
It is, yeah. It's an experience, man. Like getting fucking packed into this bus like sardines, bro, and not being able to move for 12 hours. Hectic. So yeah, we went to Laos, which I wasn't there for super long. I think it was only a couple of weeks. So saw a few cool places. That was an interesting place. I didn't really know much about it at all going into it. But compared to places like Thailand and Indonesia, there was a lot more sort of, I guess, places that felt raw, like not fully catered to the Western tourist. like you could pretty quickly and effortlessly lose yourself in places that were like, yeah, pretty raw Laos. Like there were definitely hubs where all the backpackers would sort of converge on, and like maybe you'd see people that you'd met a week ago in some other place and be like, oh, like that's funny. But yeah, Laos was loose, man. What do we do there? Lots of hiking. They have these crazy, like jagged mountain ranges there. It's pretty cool. It's a very dry, sort of like arid desert type, dusty environment, at least where we were at that time of year. There was like river floats going on or something. We mostly just hiked and used ATVs and explored the jungle.
I think I remember those videos you were sending.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
it was pretty sick, man. It was a big party destination as well, which even at that point wasn't really my scene. Like I still hung around and I guess dipped my toe into that world, but it wasn't like the sole focus of my trip, which it seemed to be for a lot of people that I was meeting.
Right.
Like just getting
Wasted.
obliterated, bro.
Didn't you tell me you got wasted one of those nights and you were stumbling home and almost like fought some locals?
Yeah, perhaps again an incriminating tale to share. Yeah,
share it with us.
I think that was one night that we stayed. I'd been with a mate from New Zealand, Cam. He's a good fellow. You'd get along with him real well. I'd already done about 3 months of that Asia trip by myself, like 2 months of Indo, a month of Thailand, and he came with me. We linked up in Thailand and caught the bus to Laos together. We'd been staying in sort of like homestays up until this point, so not like party hostels or anything like that. It's more like you stay with a family in a small place. Maybe you get like a taste of more authentic culture. And it was fairly chill. But we kept seeing these chicks walking through the middle of this like secluded Asian town wearing bikinis, like foreign girls. And we're like, what the hell? Like it was just a real random scene to see, like popping out of the jungle. And then all of a sudden there's like 10 chicks walking along the street in bikinis. You're like, what the fuck? And so we sort of clued on after a while that there was this one party hostel in town on one of the main streets. And there was like a river float party and then there was a pool party afterwards. And like I said, it wasn't really my buzz, but the bro that I was with, he was like pretty keen to spend a night in the party hostel and to like, you know, have a bit more of a social stay, I guess, rather than gallivanting into the jungle doing our own thing. So we spent this one night in the party hostel. It was pretty intense, like lots of obnoxious drunk touristas getting up to all sorts, man. And cruised into town, and Laos town was loose, man. Like,
is there a big drug scene over there?
Huge, bro. So you would have all these like local brothers running up to you and offering you all sorts, man. Like those like the big thing was like opium tea or like opium powder that you could like sprinkle into joints and stuff.
Damn.
Which I don't know how they get it or make it or what. So that was interesting. I lost my train of thought.
That's all good.
Just losing myself in the memories, bro, of that place. What I should and shouldn't say.
But what? So you went to one of those parties one night. You obviously had a big night, and then I remember you told me you were like stumbling home.
Trying to find my way back to the hostel, man, and all these streets just look, I don't know, foreign. I guess is the best way to put it.
They all look the same.
And I walked past like what must have been some locals around the same age as me at the time, and I yelled out across the road to them like, oh, hey, do you guys know where like hostel is? And I don't know if they spoke English or not, but yeah, one of the blokes about my age, I don't know, just took a disliking to me instantaneously, and wasn't stoked that I was pestering them. So there was an exchange of words and no mutual languages shared, but I think the tone of each verbalization was sort of registered by the other, and we parted ways before anything could happen.
That's pretty funny. Like you're like, fuck you, blah blah blah, but he has no idea what you're saying, and then he's saying shit back to you that's probably exactly the same in his language.
Yeah, exactly, man. And like you don't understand what they're saying, but you just pick up on the tone and every other part of the setting instantaneously, and you're like, oh, okay, like I should probably vacate.
Yeah, especially you being like just a foreign dude by yourself in the middle of his hometown.
Well, and Laos was kind of like seedy enough to feel like it is one of those places where if you got cheeky to the wrong person, maybe you would get fucking pieced up, you know?
Yeah.
Get slashed up by some machete wielding brother that didn't like
that.
you. They kind of had that feel, especially, you know, people like offering you all sorts of
opium powder.
Yeah, like that's gnarly shit, man.
Yeah, surely there's some gangs and stuff involved, smuggling all that stuff.
Who knows, man? But yeah, that was, to be honest, man, out of that entire 8 months of whipping around through Asia, that was the only sort of like unpleasant encounter I really had with any local people. They're all pretty sweet. So after Laos, it was Vietnam for a few weeks where we did the motorbike touring up north and sort of slowly making our way south, checking out all the main centres, and that was cool. And then back to Indo for another few months. So.
Right. So would you go back to Vietnam? It's one of those places I sort of want to go, but is it worth it?
I think so, yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure. It's a big country. It's got a pretty interesting history, right, as well, with the wars and that sort of thing. And I guess that definitely felt still raw in the north of Vietnam as well, where I think that was where the whole sort of like communism thing was going on, right? Like that was the US was scrapping out North Vietnam for all of that communism related stuff. So in the north of Vietnam, it felt like slightly less warm and welcoming than other parts that we went to.
Right.
Mind you, it was like another level of poverty compared to the other places that we had experienced, I guess, similar levels of poverty.
So are you saying North Vietnam was like more poverty stricken?
It was like, it's like comparing beggars in the street, like in a city, to people living in the mountains in a like shack with nothing.
Right.
You know, people weren't like actively begging, but fuck, man, they were living rough. It was cold up there because of the altitude. Like, I don't know, the landscape was pretty brutal as well. Like, I can't remember if it was like ruthlessly windy like it is here, but it was cold as fuck, man.
Does that give you another perspective on life, seeing people like that, living it that way?
Absolutely, man. I think that's like one of the most appealing things about travel for me, is that it's just this like perspective shifting tool. It's like, wow, like there's a lot of places and ways for humans to exist on this earth, man. And like in the grand scheme of it, like we've got it pretty cushy. Like we live a life of luxury compared to some people, man. Like that was ruthless. Like North Vietnam, little kids growing up there, but there's still some of the like, the kids were like nice and like laughing and like, you know, waving and stuff like you said, but it was more the cold reception from the adults. I guess maybe the history of the war and stuff is a bit more raw and like real for them. And
I guess that if they're in a position where they're not faking, I'm not saying the people in Bali are faking it, but maybe those guys are literally living meal to meal. So they're like, you know, you can still be a kind human, but it's not priority for them. They're thinking like, how am I going to feed my kids? Like my kids are going to be cold tonight.
Yeah.
Rather than, oh, smile, there's like a white guy walking through.
Yeah.
Who lives in some wealthy nation.
That's it, man. Yeah. Yeah, no, we're very fortunate, mate.
Definitely. It is a good wake-up call, travelling, like you say, to do that, because then it just puts your own life into perspective. Yeah. Little things that you are worrying about, like your boss being a dick or whatever, some of those people would love to be in our situation. Crazy to think that Vietnam, if even back in the war days, if it was that poor of a country, how well of a fight they put up.
Crazy, right?
Yeah. Like, imagine that people living in shacks, but then you got the US like dropping bombs and like you know, all the Navy and stuff like coming in, the SEALs.
That's another terrifying prospect, man. Like, I wonder if that's just because, I don't know, maybe that shows the effect that like just being so passionate about your land and your home and like, you know, furiously defending it, like.
And I guess it's one way to bring the country together. It's like we have literally foreign people trying to invade our land. Like we're going to put aside our arguments that we have at home and we're going to prioritize this. But man, they went hard. I mean, technically they pretty much won that war, right?
I think, to be fair, man, I don't know a whole lot about the history, but I do. The US did back off, right?
They did. I think they tried to, you know, like the bureaucracy of it was they pulled out because of so-and-so, but I mean, the Americans hated it because they were just going over and so many people were dying. And it was like, for what? What are they dying for? Because they were trying to stop communism spreading throughout the world.
Yeah, and I think it was just North Vietnam that contained like the communist portion of the country as well. So I think it like even split the country up a little bit. You know, it was like the South was allied with all the brothers, right? Whereas the North were just like on their own communism buzz, man.
Mm. I've listened to some gnarly Jocko podcasts on the SOG, which are part of the Special Forces. And bro, some crazy stories from those guys, eh?
From Vietnam times.
From Vietnam War, yeah. Like they were I don't know if there was SEALs back then, but the SOG were the like SEALs of that era. And they would like get dropped in. And then, yeah, just stories of, because I think there's like tigers and shit walking around the bush back then. I'm pretty sure they've maybe gone extinct now in Vietnam. But yeah, like you're literally in the jungle warfare. Like you're moving 100 to 200 meters a day because every step you have to be like step in silence and look everywhere around you. And
yeah, and like what is it the Viet Congs is what they called the local or like indigenous fighters. They were ruthless, man. They fought so passionately, and they had like what was it, the tunnels, and like the warfare was crazy, man. It's brutal. You can actually visit some of the prisoner of war camps over in Vietnam. That's like one of the popular I guess tourist destinations that people do in Vietnam. I didn't go. I ran out of time, and it wasn't super, I guess, high up on my priority list enough for me to prioritize it. One of my friends went. Apparently it's just a super heavy experience, you know.
I bet.
Like you see all these like gnarly torture devices essentially that they used back then.
Was it like the American camps or was it the Vietnamese?
Both sides,
right?
Man. Both sides were like equally as brutal.
I guess that's the brutality of war.
Fuck yeah, man. Fuck yeah. Well, there's like different styles of brutal war acts now, like with the drone strikes and stuff. Like I see some marginal videos popping up on like Instagram Reels when I hit Instagram of just, I don't know how it makes its way to Instagram.
Bro, I on the regular on YouTube watch videos of people getting killed. And it's just...
So it's the same on YouTube.
Yeah. But I think they stay up for a certain amount of time and then they get taken down.
Yeah.
But I don't think us as humans are meant to be experiencing watching those videos all the time, mate. I don't think it's healthy.
Like so frequently and in high volume, just getting bombarded by this like seriously gnarly content.
Like I watched one the other day of a drone. There was some dude in like a little boat in Ukraine. I think it was maybe a Russian and it was Ukraine dropping the drones. Bro, just drop, boom, and then there's just a big blood puddle.
Yeah, man.
And then there's one guy like scrambling in the water and like two guys dead. It's just like, wow.
That's fucked, eh?
Yeah.
Those are the kind of videos that pop up, and it's just like, I've even seen one of like them doing something like that, and then it pans away from the computer screen, and it's like a room full of like Ukrainian soldiers, whatever, and they're all like, hey, like,
True.
It's like the boys like, crack up, yeah, got him. It's like, holy fuck, man, that's ruthless. It's like, now you can commit those gnarly war acts from the safety of like a computer screen. Like I guess that's what it's moving into right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, they are visualizing it exactly how I visualized it on my phone. And I'm just like, you know, just being a piece of shit, just like scrolling, just like boom, next video. But they're literally going to war doing that, just like, oh yeah, done. Kill those guys, on to the next.
Yeah, yeah.
But you're taking away that human element of like World War II, where you're like, you know, I've had enough. Like we need peace. Yeah, whereas like, those guys might not feel that.
Yeah, like when you can actually recognize the atrocities that are happening, and like it's in your face and you can't deny it, and it's like, okay, maybe war is not the best like way forward here. It's scary shit, man. It's probably the same like thing as how people become so bold and like keyboard warriors, you know, behind a computer screen. Like, you know, people don't tend to do that to your face, right?
No.
But maybe it's the same sort of thing with war. Like people are willing to commit like gnarlier crimes through, you know, these remote weapons than they would if they were there in person.
Yeah, I fully agree. The whole keyboard warrior thing's interesting because I reckon the same rule applies to road rage. People that are isolated in their car, in their box. It's true. Like 100%. They feel so safe and they're like, fuck you, blah blah blah. But I guarantee half the time if you got out your car and they got out their car, like they wouldn't be all that in your face. But it's weird, that sense of danger, I guess. Like if you say shit right to my face in an aggressive manner, there's probably going to be consequences. But online you can say whatever you want.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I fully agree with the car thing. I think it probably is again the same thing, playing into the same thing at least. Like it's funny, right?
But I'm guilty of it. Me and the boys always talk about, like, we as men need to be in control of our emotions. It's like part of being a man, you know, like you don't want to lose control of your emotions. But road rage, that really pushes the limits, eh? Like someone cuts you off, you're like, you motherfucker.
Isn't it so funny that seems to like get under our skins? Probably like, well, obviously there's other things that do more, but it seems to bother us so deeply, man. Like even just something as simple as getting cut off or someone not indicating and delaying your journey by like 2 seconds, you know.
I remember back in the day when my sister was learning to drive. She was in her learners, and she had the L plates up and she was just driving like a learner, and some dude was like behind her like beeping and shit, and like overtook, and I was like real mad. I was like, fuck you, like he's going fast. Like, pull over, boy. But yeah, road rage, man. Interesting one.
Yeah, we've had some hectic road rage encounters over the years.
What, me and you?
Being in the car together.
Yeah, I can't. None's really popping to mind.
No, neither. I can't remember a specific encounter, but there's definitely been a few.
Oh, we've had a few back in the day in the car scenes. But do you know, it's a funny story which I thought about the other day. I was telling the boys is do you remember when we went to Katie Hammer's party in the Nui?
Oh yeah.
And it was like me, you, and Money's, and he was in a Celica. And I don't know, Elliot was inside probably trying to chat up some chicks. And then you and Kane Krebs, I don't know if you remember who he is.
Vaguely.
Yeah. But you like racks Money's keys. And you and Kane Krebs went for a hoon around the block. But I remember watching you like fly around the corner, do a handbrakey, pull into the street, and Money's was just like, what the fuck? Because it was in his car.
I do recall this.
And he was proper mad at you, eh?
He was not happy, man.
And I was cracking up. Like, it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen.
That was just a loose evening in general, eh? Like everything that happened that night.
That was a big party.
That was massive.
Did you go to the second one?
Not sure.
It's always funny, eh, when those like amazing nights they try to recreate them, and it's never the same.
Yeah.
Because party number 2 got shut down real quick. I think the cops came. There was like scraps, and it just wasn't the same.
No, I wasn't there for that one, man. Yeah, there were all kinds of wild tales from that night that we could spin, eh?
Oh, for sure. Lots of them that we can't spin on camera.
No, exactly, man. Exactly. No, I remember I had to navigate my way back to Petone after that while wearing a onesie at like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning.
True.
From Wainui. Yeah.
And you had some pretty wild parties at your house. Bro, every time your parents went away, like, Louis, don't throw a party. Instantly, send out a text like, Brad, who can you get round?
It was good, eh? I just like, you were like my project manager for all of those, bro. You just suss everything for me, eh?
Just like hit up all the Orange girls, all the Sacred Heart girls.
That was awesome, man. I was brewing on that the other day for some reason. I can't remember. I think at the time my parents said to me, they're like, God, like, look after the house. Like, don't throw a party while we're gone, and you can have one when we get back. And I remember like running the equation in my head. I was like, I can have a party that's like allowed and I won't get in trouble for when my parents get back, or I can just have one now that's just loose as fuck and everyone will be stoked about, you know, and like, I'll be in the dog box with my olds for a while after, but like, you know.
But it's a way more of a sell to people, like, oh, Louis' parents are away for the weekend, he's throwing a party.
No parents, because there's no bounds really, right? Like, how loose it can get is being controlled by a 17-year-old boy.
Yeah. So it's pretty much like nothing's off limits.
Exactly. To be fair, man, like, all of those went pretty well considering how badly it could have gone, right? Like, because I was drunk as well. Like, I wasn't keeping an eye on that people were behaving themselves or, like, respecting my parents' house or anything. Like, you know, besides someone crashing a car into my parents' garage.
Who, that was Money's and Danny, I think.
Someone was doing a skid in the driveway or something, I think.
Pretty sure it was them too.
No damage though, so happy days, man. But yeah.
It's crack up. I think we were lucky because from memory back then, I don't really remember any drugs being involved in those parties. So it was like we were young, and that was probably a good thing. It was just alcohol infused. Maybe like a bit of weed here and there.
People might have smoked a little bit of pot back then, but yeah, I mean, alcohol would have been the most like gnarly, troublemaking substance being consumed at that point. Yeah, for sure. Good
times, man.
Funny, man. That's a hot minute, right? That's like 10 years ago, really.
Yeah, it is crazy how fast we're aging.
It is crazy, man. It's I don't know. It's crazy as well that was such a like big thing back then. Was like, oh, the big party is like the highlight of the week, sort of thing. Whereas like now I'm so far removed from that like party and alcohol consuming scene. You know.
You don't really drink at all these days, right?
It's been over a year since I had any alcohol at all. And that's not even a thing of like, oh, like I'm a year clean or something. It's just like, oh, just alcohol does nothing for me, man. Like, and being in that environment as well as like, I don't know, I don't enjoy being around like drunk people, you know.
Well, especially when you're sober, it's very hard to be around drunk people.
It's punishment, bro, for sure. For sure. But also like, I don't know, that's why I tend to swerve that scene too, is it like trouble is attracted to that scene, you know, like it corrupts the best people and attracts the worst, man.
Very true. Yeah, you always seem to get yourself in trouble when you're drunk. Like when you're sober, you just, well, even now, like I would say me and you, we probably don't get, so do you get in many fights these days?
Not at all. No.
Exactly.
No.
But if you get drunk, it's probably way more likely you're going to get in a fight with someone.
For sure, man.
Because they're just going to say cheeky shit. You're probably being a dick, not even realizing, and then all of a sudden you're scrapping, and any bad thing can happen.
Yeah, man. When you're, I don't know, inebriated, you're just gonna let that ego get in the way and probably arc up a lot more easily than without it.
And in that party scene, if there's like heaps of girls around and all your mates around, it's like you got to prove yourself. You can't be a bitch in front of everyone. And
exactly. There's a lot of layers to that whole situation, man. So yeah, it's a good thing not being involved in that scene,
I feel like an old man, like my perspective on that whole scene is just completely shifted. And it's like a 21-year-old will probably look at me and just be like, you know, here's the old man, the way you're acting.
They'd probably say you're boring.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
To me, the idea of like getting out of your mind and like removing yourself from your human experience more, because that's what getting drunk is, right? Like you don't even remember half of it, man. Like that's boring. Like doing the same thing, going to town again, getting plastered, whatever. Like I would rather, I don't know, do anything really. Go into the bush or go explore a new area or save that money or like put that time and energy into like a more constructive pursuit, like, you know, what we're into.
Oh, I think that's it's like long-term purpose. I think as you get older, that's what you focus on. Whereas like living for the weekend is very short-term. And then, you know, you feel like shit the next couple of days, and then you just have to grind through the work week to live for the weekend again. It's just a repetitive cycle. Then
it's just that feast and famine type way of living, right? Like the high highs, the low lows. You know? Yeah,
which some people like though, and it, you know, everyone is on their own personal human journey. And I can see how it's attractive to people because it's high in emotions, even if it's low lows or high highs. It's not just like a placid way of living, but there's definitely other ways to get those emotions in a more productive way, in my opinion.
Or at least a more sustainable way, right? As well. You're not frying yourself on a weekly basis and then having to claw your way back to some form of like normality, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it with a few people and it never seems to end happy. It always seems to end in some sort of like mental breakdown or...
For sure, man.
You know?
I mean, that was a massive reason for why I stopped drinking or taking anything that would like seriously upset my brain chemistry, is because when I would drink, it would be like the next 2 weeks, my mood is just like... Like I'm super unstable, I'm less motivated. I get down, man, you know? So yeah, I fully cut that out and it just like helps keep that line a bit more normalized, I guess.
See, for me it's an interesting one because I don't drink anymore either, but I always consider myself a very happy drunk. Like I do quite enjoy being drunk, and yeah, I get a little down the next day, but I would say overall I get more happiness and fun moments than not, but I know how bad it is for me. So it's like I'm constantly weighing up, like even though I don't really drink at all and it's been like a year since I've gotten drunk, I still have to have those internal battles where it's like a night out. It's like, oh, should I go get on the piss with the boys? Or should I just not drink?
So do you still, say if you were put into that situation where it was if you're the boys, you're at the pub or something, do you still have that little voice inside you that's like, yeah, let's go?
100%. Like I went to the Phoenix a couple of months ago and all the boys were drinking it was just me and Monty who didn't drink. And I had a good time. I didn't drink, but I definitely had that voice in my head all afternoon, like, just go to Pre's, like go, have a few brews, go in with the boys, like it's going to be a fun time.
Yeah.
And I for sure would have had fun if I was drunk, but it was quite cool that I guess didn't do it and I still had a good time. But yeah, I had it the other night as well when I was at a work event in Hamilton, of all places, and went out to this like rural gala Mitre 10 awards night, and it's like free alcohol, like the whole works, bro. Like it was real fancy dinner. There's like 1,000 people there, 3-course meal, and same thing. Like we're at the Airbnb, and I was like with my workmate, and he was like getting beers from the supermarket. When I was in the supermarket, I was like those thoughts running through my mind, like, oh, should I get a box too, and like pre-drink, and then have a good time? But I didn't. So it's an interesting one.
It is, yeah. And because I have younger sisters too. I've sort of like, they're a few years younger than me, so they're still sort of at that stage, I guess, where they're still very much about, getting on it, cruising into town, getting amongst that scene. It's interesting, man. I feel like from an outside perspective, at least with them, I can see like they would probably benefit from, not delving into that world as much, being similar to me.
So do you think they ride those same emotions that you do after getting drunk? You think your guys' brain chemistries are sort of similar?
I think so, yeah. I think so. I don't know, I feel like if you've already got like a personality type or living a life that's very like, inconsistent or like tumultuous, piling on that extra layer of like chaotic madness, that comes with the whole party scene, probably isn't going to help move forwards, right? I don't know. I mean, who knows, really? I don't have the answers for that one, bro.
Yeah,
I'm just figuring my own shit out as well, right?
And also, I always think you can't tell young people to not do it. Because, I mean, no one was telling us back in the day, what are you boys doing? Like, trust me, don't drink, don't go to the town. It's like...
Or if they would, we would have said, like, what do you know?
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, you wouldn't listen... Old cunt. Like, you wouldn't listen to them. And exactly. That's why I don't push it too hard. Like, my younger sister and her boyfriend, I think Michael goes out and drinks a bit. Don't know if Danielle drinks so much. But it's like, I don't tell them, don't do it, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I try and get them to eat healthy and live a healthier lifestyle, but it's one of those things you have to figure out for yourself, I think.
100%, man. Yeah, like being told something by someone and then learning it and experiencing it yourself are completely different things, man. Like, it's always going to stick and be more personable when you experience that yourself.
That's definitely how I grew up. I had to do things myself. Like, no one could tell me what to do. I had to figure it out. Make those mistakes, which I think is fine as long as the mistakes you're making aren't too permanent or significant.
For sure.
Yeah,
as long as they're not going to ruin your chance to like continue going forwards and evolving as a person, man. Like getting into some severe legal trouble or something like that, right?
And I think that's where my take would be on parenting. If I have a son and he's around that age, I'd be like, I get it. But you just have to remember, you do have a life to live in the future, so don't do anything too dumb.
Yeah.
Don't burn down any buildings or like...
And he'll be like, what do you know, Dad?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're just a boring old man that like ice baths every morning and then meditates.
Straight up, though.
Something like that.
But it's funny, right? And like, when I look through, say, like my parents' old film photo albums, and I look back to when they were... our age or younger or around about this age, and they were out there doing this cool stuff, and it's like you can so easily forget that your parents have done the same or a similar thing, right? Like they've started out this little blob, a baby that came out of another person and made it all the way to this old person that you're seeing now. They've done everything in between, chances are they've probably at least experience something similar to what we are at some point in our lives. So they probably do have like all this valuable knowledge and experience to share with you. But I don't know, when you're at a certain age, you kind of just disregard that. You're just like, it's just an old person being opinionated,
Yeah. It's our culture's weird because I don't think we are taught from a young age to respect our elder. We are to a degree, but not compared to other cultures. And I think we really should, because there's so much wisdom in older people think about, you know, how your years in life, how much wiser you are right now than what you would have been when you were 21.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then it's like tenfold when it comes to your parents, right?
Exactly.
For sure, man. For sure. I feel a lot of sympathy for my parents having put up with me in my teen years, you know, like obviously having all this constructive stuff to add to my life, but then me being like, I don't know, too caught in my own world to acknowledge that. Like retrospectively now, I'm like, oh yeah, I could have like listened to this or that and probably had a much easier time like navigating this situation. But again, like I'm the same as you in the respect that I have to learn these things myself, even if it means a bit of extra suffering along the way.
But I'm sure now, you know, your parents are proud of you because you seem to be an authentic, nice human. So
wow,
lots to be proud of.
It's a lovely compliment from you, mate.
It's very emotional.
And yeah, same with you, man. Like far out. You've I remember we used to joke about that you would come and live in my garage when things didn't work out for you.
Well, that was probably you joking about it.
If anything, it would be the other way around now. I would be the garage squatter in your monopoly of houses that you're slowly building up,
Yeah,
both
funny.
North and South Island.
Yeah, just trying to navigate through life,
Which is hard, man. Like it's hard to do. Like, you know, it's hard to like I don't know, build your way up in a traditional sense in society, but then also just like find happiness or like find what makes you happy, how to get it, how to keep it.
Well, I'm starting to realize the older I get to look less into materialistic items for happiness and look more into, you know, like fulfilling, purposeful things. You know, obviously about to have a child, so I'd say that's going to be a very fulfilling journey. But even, you know, getting out into hunting and just being with friends and family is where I'm like the most happy. Yeah. It seems like that's the point of life, not scrolling on social media and, you know, just buying the next thing, buying this Louis Vuitton. Like I'm wearing a $20 hunting and fishing jersey and I reckon it looks all good. So
you
it's
look
like,
very warm, mate.
Yeah, I am comfy.
Yeah.
But it's like just be happy, I guess, in those things. And when you talk about traveling, that is a big thing. Seeing those poorer countries and the way other people live just puts into perspective, I guess, how lucky we are to live in a place like this.
For sure, man. For sure. Yeah. No, it's just what's that? You want to wrap it up?
Yeah, we can. I reckon it's about time. I've got a little gift to give you.
What is the time, by the way, actually?
It is 1 o'clock. Here's a little gift, mate.
Whoa.
Oh, big gift for a big boy.
Wow, thank you, mate.
Seymour's 2.4 litre double stainless steel insulated drink bottle.
Wow, awesome, mate.
So I feel like it'll be good for you in the mines.
Yeah, this will be perfect, man. I'm never much of a water bottle person, so it's good to have one that I won't have to, you know, continue adding to the whole plastic problem.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
All right,
bro.
shot, brother.
Yeah, cheers, my G.
Light her up.
All right.
Oh! Whoa!
Oh, bro.
Bro, that was so close to lighting that can up, eh?
Bro, oh yeah, that's my fucking eyebrow. Holy shit. I told you there was way too much.
That was the perfect amount.